You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
Welcome to the Village of Wappinger Falls, second meeting of the month of the Mayor and the Board of Trustees for Thursday, Wednesday, Board of Trustees for Wednesday, May 25th. 2022. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any recognitions, Clerk Arj?
Not that I'm aware of, Mayor. Does the board have anything?
Announcements?
It's on the agenda, there's gonna be an event,
For Nora?
running, no,
Oh.
we're gonna do that next week. Later, further down, we are gonna ask for permission to have the 43rd Joseph McDonald Bill Cozy Run, Saturday, June 4th.
Okay.
Okay, Mayor Sereno,
Present.
Trustee Sidoti.
Here.
Trustee Telisek.
Here.
Trustee Neznik.
Here.
Trustee Huber.
Here.
Trustee Ruffin.
Here.
Trustee Lauricella.
Here.
Village Attorney Wallace.
Here.
I see we have Craig Roberts here tonight. Did we want to do him up front?
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be best.
Okay.
Spare him the
Who is driving this?
torture.
That would be me. So this has to do, Craig Roberts was asked to come to speak to the board by myself because there are, let's say, some issues, again, with the Edmunds conversion system, and I would like the board to be aware of them. And Craig Roberts is a great resource because he currently manages the Harris System software server that's housed here. And the Harris software is local, so that's on our server. If our server fails, you know, we're gonna have some issues like that. And also, after our Harris contract is expired and we do transition over to the Edmunds Gov system, if anything goes wrong with the Harris software or it's corrupted, the village is gonna have to pursue some kind of contract or maybe like per diem rate with Harris so that their people can fix that glitch, whatever it could be. Now, just to throw it out there, there's currently no glitch, there's no problems, so nobody has to worry. This is just forward thinking, all right? So there's no problems at this time, knock on wood, okay? Now, we do have a little bit of a obsolescence problem with the current system, the biometric system that is used. The biometric system, it's our village employees use a fingerprint reader and they have a punch code, so they use the system for punching in. The system, unfortunately, soon is no longer going to be supported, and meaning that, again, if it's even on a Harris platform, that data is not going to transfer to the Edmunds system. That creates a bottleneck for our treasurer. It creates because he's not getting the payroll in a timely basis. Okay, so now he doesn't have that information, so the heads of the department would have to do some kind of reporting somehow and get him that information. And we all know that there's already been some, you know, payroll issues going on with information and getting payroll done on a timely basis. With that, at this point in time, let's invite Craig to speak to the board, please. Is that all right, Craig?
Yeah, come up here.
Thank you, sir. Yep, speak right into the
Before
mic.
you start, I want to know something.
Yes, sir.
How come the treasurer's not getting the time cards or the time in a timely manner?
This is definitely a question for
The week ends, I believe, on Saturday or Sunday, and Monday morning, they're supposed to have everything ready for the treasurer. I don't understand it.
Definitely don't understand it myself fully, so if you want, I can definitely get you an answer ASAP on that and reach out to the department heads if you'd like.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
can I ask you a question?
Of course.
So who, would it be Andrew we're finding that out from? Or where are you finding out that the time cards are not getting in by Monday?
It's not that, it's more of a problem moving forward than anything else, but,
Right, yeah, okay.
Right.
That's what I was thinking, so I just,
correct.
okay.
Maybe some of the things
Yeah.
that I say will
Sure.
kind of help understand, you guys understand the concerns. So first, let me say that I was in the dark with this Edmunds thing for up until a couple months ago when Mike Ruffin reached out to me with some concerns that he had. I wasn't really aware that anything was going on until it was already going on.
And how long have you been our tech guy?
Since 2007?
Okay, so a little bit of time.
Yeah, quite a while. Back when Jennifer Brown was the treasurer, who, she was great. I got along with Jennifer. And since that, ever since I've been doing IT work for the village, you guys have used the Harris system. All right, that was for all of your utility billing. You adopted a separate product from them for attendance, time and attendance. That's what Mike was referring to. Which right now you guys have either time clocks for fingerprints, right? Or if you have a village computer, people can log in using a portal and type in that or log in that way. But the point is that you have to physically be in one of the village buildings to clock in, right? And that's important, right? Because you don't need anybody trying to clock in at home before they get here, things of that nature. One of the things that Mike was referring to
Or
is...
Boca Raton in Florida.
Right, exactly. One of the things that Mike was referring to is the system that's in place, the time and attendance system that's currently in place. I don't know if you're still using it or not, but it is a Harris product. And it does, like I said, you have time clocks at the highway garage, at the police department, you have shortcuts on village computers here, and that's how people log in, or punch in for their workday. I think what Mike was saying is, with Edmunds, they do handle time and attendance, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's handled differently. It's using an app on a mobile device, like a phone, okay? So no biometrics, and the potential concern there is that there's no way to, according to Edmunds, or according to what Edmunds had told you, there's no way to ensure that your employees are clocking in when they're actually at work.
Can I just ask,
Sure.
so they're not utilizing any geofencing or GPS technology through the app?
That's what I was told. Yes.
Wow.
I don't know, I did not speak with Edmunds myself. This is information that was communicated to Mike.
Right.
Mike relayed it to me, and I agreed, yeah, that's a concern. I don't know how you can enforce, it's just something to think about. Go ahead.
I just spoke with, I got an email from Brian Adams, and I spoke with Alec in sales over at Edmunds, and that is correct. They do not use geofencing.
That's like
That's not
how do they even offer this service?
that's not the answer that I was expecting.
I'm
Yeah.
stunned by that.
So there's a valid concern there. I don't know how you're gonna, handle it or enforce it, but that was one of the items that Mike and I agreed should be brought up here.
Can I ask, is there a way to not utilize it on a phone, as a phone app, and have it exclusively on in-house desktop computers that they're already having access to?
So interestingly enough, in the HR module that we already paid for in the Edmunds software, you can actually put in employee hours.
Without the $3,000 extension?
Correct, without the
You mean enter them, or you
$3,000
mean-
extension app. So the department heads, let's say, could, heads of, if they're given permissions, from the HR module of Edmunds, they could put in employee times and fill that in like an electronic punch card. You'll see that I put some of these handouts around that just detail about the actual employee service subscription for their ESS system, which is like a smartphone and reporting app. All right, so I don't know anybody's feelings on this, and it's probably the first that you've all heard of it. So this is a workshop meeting, so I encourage any questions that you may have.
Okay.
So
If I may, so this module allows the department heads to enter in the hours on their computers for all their employees. Is that correct?
well, they can do that anyway in the HR module, but additionally, everything printed out here, you can do with the app. So if an employee wants like time off, if they want to schedule vacation time, they could do it on the app. If they want to change something with regards to their paycheck or withholdings, they can do it on the app. If there's a number of things that they can do.
Mike, question Trustee Huber was asking, can you clarify, is Harris no longer going to be an option? Are they phasing out that feature?
So that's another concern that I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
So, okay. As long as I've been doing IT work here, you guys have used Harris, right? Now, the thing with Harris, in my experience, is anytime, if I needed to reach out to them, let's say we were migrating to a new server, or there was some sort of weird issue that I I couldn't fix. I needed to speak with one of their techs. I could never call Harris on my own. I always had to go through the treasurer. The treasurer needed, and this goes back to Jennifer Brown. The way she explained it to me is because she's the designated point of contact, she had to initiate the communication with Harris. And then at that point, they would call me at their convenience, which was inconvenient for me because I never knew when they were going to call. And it was really difficult to schedule any sort of communication with Harris. So that being said, I'm saying this because it's important to understand the reliance that you guys have had on Harris all of this time, okay? And how, not that they haven't provided a good solution to you, but in some cases it was kind of challenging for me to work through some problems with them just because of that. Now, all of that being said, I was in the dark with the contract that was signed to convert to Edmunds. You guys have been, dealing with that, I know. But what Andrew told me a couple weeks ago, which concerns me a little bit, is they only took the last 3 years of the data in Harris and put it into Edmunds. So anything older than 3 years of all of that data that's in Harris is still in Harris. That's the concern that I had, because your contract with Harris ends this month, okay? So what does that mean? That means if Harris software needs an update to work with, I don't know, say Microsoft releases an update for their server, and it breaks something with the Harris system, and then Harris in return has to do a patch to make sure that continues working. That's no longer an option because your contract with Harris is up. Now, I am not saying that that is going to happen. I'm just saying that it's a possibility. I don't want you guys to get blindsided if there's a problem, right? And you guys turn to me and say, hey, can you fix this? I want to be transparent and clear of what I can and can't do, right? So the town of Wappinger, coincidentally, also converted to Edmunds a couple years ago. Now, their situation was a lot different than yours. They were on a really, really, really poor accounting system, very, very antiquated. The company went under. They needed to make the change. I was involved somewhat in the decision-making process, but ultimately the comptroller for the town made the decision to go to Edmunds. He liked it. He liked the price, whatever. They switched to it for the most part. It was very, very smooth, but it was the same problem. They only imported the last 3 or 4 years of data. And when I brought that to the attention of the comptroller, I said, listen, all of that data that's older than 3 years is sitting on a server that's also old, that I can't upgrade or fix anymore. And eventually that server is going to die. And at that point, all of that data is going to go with it, right?
What type of data are you?
Well, anything that's in Harris. So Harris handles your water billing, I believe. It's tied into water meter readings as well. You have the separate time and attendance. You do, I only know the names of the modules, but there's one called Microfund, which I'm assuming does budgeting or maybe some sort of financial budgeting. So I don't know the innards.
And this is the only place where this data resides.
Correct.
Right. And that's where my concern is, right? So you have the last 3 years that was imported into Edmunds at whatever price they gave you in the contract. Now, the other thing that Andrew told me about that was that, and I was hoping he was here to confirm this, but he explained that the data that they did import for the last 3 years was only a summary. It wasn't a detailed import. What does that mean? That means it's only going to show you balances. It's not going to show you
Description.
Yeah.
What kind of volume of information is this? And is this something that can be migrated into a repository hardware that we own or cloud service that we have that has independent?
Okay. So that's not a bad question, but it's a tough one to answer, but I'll do my best. So ideally, when a municipality or any organization invests in a solution, in this case Edmunds, ideally, that's what you're doing. You're investing in the solution. right? You're investing in this solution to be a long-term thing, because you can't, switching accounting solutions every couple of years is not financially practical. I don't know what you paid, but I'm sure you paid a good amount of money for that data conversion, and that was only the last 3 years. Data conversion from one database to another can be very pricey, right? It's most likely why they only did the last 3 years. Now again, I wasn't involved in anything. I don't know who made what decision or what, but I'm just telling you from my experience, that's most likely what went into that decision, is the cost, okay? Ideally, you want that historical data migrated into Edmunds. Whether, I understand that some of you may not have been aware that this Edmunds conversion was happening, and it took some people by surprise. I do get all of that, because I was surprised too. But you're in a tough spot right now, because you're in a contract, you've been paying it since I don't even know when. You kind of already invested in this Edmunds system, right? Ideally, you want all of that historical Harris stuff into Edmunds. That's the ideal scenario. To answer your question, can you just export it and put it in a repository? You still need the Harris engine, so to speak, to access that data, right?
Gotcha.
So it's not like we could just dump
Or
it.
the Edmunds.
Yeah.
You need some sort of proprietary software that these companies have.
Yeah, because
Okay.
it's basically a proprietary database solution,
Yeah.
right? And I'm not saying anything was bad with Harris. Like, I never worked in Harris. I only worked on the system that Harris was put on.
Yeah.
You know, I made sure Harris was available on the computers. I worked with them to make sure it was working on the server, but I'm never inside of Harris. I never had access to log in. I never needed it. I don't want it. But I don't know the innards of it, right? I just know the technical back end, which unfortunately means that the data right now exists, all that old data is in Harris, it's not in Edmunds. Your contract with Harris is ending. That's going to limit my and your capability to resolve any things that may come up with Harris if you're going to continue relying on it for that historical data.
Are you suggesting that we look into some way to extend our contract and get more into Edmunds from Harris?
All right, so with the town, good question. With the town, when I brought this to their attention, I said, for you guys, you need to take all of that old data that didn't get moved over and move it over. Because the server that your old accounting system is on is going to die, and there's nothing that I can do about that. So you need to do this now or soon before there's a problem. And they did, and they reached out to Edmunds and they got a quote, and I believe they charged the town maybe $10,000 to migrate the historical data.
Do you know how many years that was?
I don't know offhand. I can find out. I work with them all the time. I can call the comptroller and ask him. But that gives you some point of reference, right? Now, I don't know if it'll be less for you, if it'll be more for you. I'm not really too sure on that. Ideally, I want Andrew or somebody to reach out to Edmunds and at least get a quote. What's it going to cost to get all that historical data migrated into Edmunds? So then you don't have to worry about it. Good.
So if we we should do this. And then my question is, if we initiate a transfer, are we able to have a kind of like pay Harris for a bridge period to not buy them for the year? You know, so like, hey, we're transferring data. How long physically will that take? I don't know. But if it's going to go past our time to sunset, and maybe that's a question for Mike. I don't know.
That's a question for Andrew, maybe. Or
You don't need the service contract at this point in time unless we do encounter some kind of error that Harris has to fix.
But you don't need it to transfer the data from Harris to Edmunds.
You are absolutely right.
That's correct.
So
That's good.
The other thing is, a lot of this data, municipalities are required to keep into perpetuity.
Well, yeah. I mean,
We're going to have
information is the most important thing you can have at this day and age.
Yeah. So, I know enough about the situation to know that it's not an easy one. I get all that. I don't know all of the details. I know some of them. But I'm just trying to tell you from my perspective, just a couple of the concerns that I have so you guys can kind of figure out what would be best. Now, to go back to your suggestion, is it possible that you can extend the Harris contract? Yeah, that's possible. Is it the best way to go? I guess that depends on what Edmunds would charge you to migrate all the other stuff. I don't know.
But isn't that also, there's gonna be costs, you know, running and accessing two things will ultimately have its own cost as well, right?
Well, yeah, Mike Broad mentioned, he pointed out a very important distinction between Harris and Edmunds. Harris lives on your server here, all right? And that was one of my concerns, you know, as we move forward into the future and we become increasingly reliant on technology, disaster recovery, business continuity, God forbid something happens to the village hall physically, some sort of disaster, and that server goes down, how are you going to access Harris? With Edmunds, it is a cloud platform, so even if something happens to Village Hall, Edmunds is still going to be accessible. All right, so that's a step in the right direction, in my opinion. So that's a good thing. And disaster recovery and business continuity, that's a whole other conversation that we're going to have another time after we get through this Edmunds Harris stuff. But I think what needs to happen is Andrew needs to get some sort of quote from Edmunds to see what it would take to migrate the historical data and go from there. See if it's something that's doable, right? You know, from your budget perspective, if that's something that you can, you know, do at least maybe, if not this budget year, at the very least maybe the next budget year. You know, the difference between you and the town is your server's not old. You just bought this server maybe 3 years ago. So your server's healthy. Your server's healthy. No, it's healthy. Your town server, the town server, they were in a different situation. They were, it was dire for them. For you guys, I'm just trying to give you a little bit of positive here, you know. But
Look at the quote. Let's get the.
Can we get a motion to get a quote?
I'll make the
Would you like to
motion.
Make the motion, I'll second it, or whatever.
Yes. Let's do
Okay, so
The town,
Motion
what do they
to
do
approve.
for payroll?
for Andrew to get a quote for
they
data conversion.
changed.
So they don't use
for the
Edmunds for
information
payroll?
on
No,
our
I don't
local
believe they
server
do.
to
I think they
to
use-
convert to the Edmunds GovTech
For
program.
how many years?
HX or ADP, is ADP one of them? Or
Yeah, ADP is,
They use, but I'm confused because they changed it a couple of times, and I don't know where they're at right now, but I'm
But
pretty
they
sure.
definitely don't use Edmunds.
I'm pretty sure they don't. I'm pretty sure they don't. I don't know that they got all the Edmunds, I don't even know which Edmunds modules you guys got. I haven't even seen the thing. So I don't even know what you guys got, but I'm pretty sure the town did not get all of the modules. They only got whatever it was that they needed. And if you need this info, I can find it out for you and shoot you an email with some more info on what they're doing. That's not a problem. They'll tell me.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to,
Get a quote?
To give Andrew the
get a
the
quote.
latitude that he needs to get a quote from Edmunds for this data conversion.
Yep.
For info that lives on our server here.
And there's a second.
How far back?
to
Perpetuity, you gotta convert the whole
much
mess.
info as we
Yeah.
have
Okay.
housed on Harris.
And there's a second
Okay,
by trustee Lorcella.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thanks,
All
Fred.
right, good enough for now?
Yeah, thank you.
We have one other issue of this, while you're here, before
Sure.
we let you go, about the Edmunds app, you know, for the ESS app for HR and, you know, for employees, so that they could
Time and attendance?
sign in attendance
Okay.
on their app, yeah.
So-
Any feelings on that?
Well, I do feel, now, I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I like to think that everyone does the right thing all the time.
How's that working out?
You know, but the reality is that you need to protect, in my opinion, you need to protect the village from people being able to clock in when they're not working. That's my opinion, you know. If you go with this add-on and you give all your employees or whoever the ability to put this app on their phone and be able to clock in for work, they can do that, like you said, from Boca Raton, or when, you know, right when they leave their house instead of when they get to the office. Like, again, I like to think that nobody would do that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I think that everybody has some sort of responsibility here to do what's, you know, in the best interest to protect the village and the taxpayers. And
But if they go
all
through
that
the
stuff.
HR program, the department heads can collect the time cards from each person, certify that they're right, and enter them in, and it's no extra charge.
Correct.
I gotta just say one more time, I cannot believe that Edmunds does not have any metadata that tells the person where they're, that's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
Is there any systems that employees could have like an ID card that they could swipe that could go, that's an internal system that it's like a,
yeah,
right to a server or
there's a lot of solutions for time.
Chronos systems?
There's a lot of solutions. I mean, you guys have one, it's just offered by Harris, right? But I think the challenge with any of those solutions is whatever like let's say you're all considering not going with the time and attendance that Emmons has to offer, and you want to go with a solution like you're referring to. The challenge at that point is, can the data that's collected by that system get put into Edmunds so it's, you know, pulled in for, you know, the treasurer to do what he has to do. And I don't know what kind of mechanisms Edmunds have in place that will, you know, allow a third-party data export to be pulled in. I'm not sure. That's a question for Edmunds, or we would have to do some research on some other time and attendance solutions and see.
I have Chronos on my phone. That's what we use at my job.
Chronos?
Chronos. And I
Okay.
can tell everything on my phone from
Yeah.
my sick days, my personal days, my time and attendance, my punches for the last month.
I'm sure you could do that with the Edmunds app. The functionality, I don't think is the issue. I think the issue is just making sure that people can't clock in and out when they're not
I mean,
actually doing
I have
work.
Paycom that we use, and I supervise people with Paycom, and it comes with a host of problems. Because somebody doesn't know how to use a cell phone. They still got their flip phone. How are you gonna get them clocking in?
Yeah.
You're gonna have somebody who's in a dead zone. Their
Yeah.
phone's dead. Now you're gonna enter them in. It is a lot of trouble to have that.
Well, they shouldn't be calling from the dead zone, and they should be at work if they're punching in their
And
phone.
they should be, but, you know, they're gonna say they couldn't get signal. I think it's much better to have it on site.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that at all. And I know you said with the HR module, department heads can manually enter the data, right? Where does that data come from though? Like if you were to go that route, how would you guys handle time and attendance for the department head to collect that data? Like,
So that's a whole other discussion
Yeah.
of something that we haven't even
yeah,
touched upon.
yeah, that's what I
Right.
figured.
So, I mean,
Just,
do we get time clocks? Do we go back to time cards? Do we go back to another system? You know, that the department heads have to,
Well, the simple,
you know,
stupid
review and
way
enter?
is, the simple, stupid way is to have people write it down, and their supervisor is asserting that is correct, and he enters it. Now you have a paper record which says, if you falsify your timesheet, now you have a problem.
That's what I think.
Right, and then
Department
the
head
department,
certifies that it's
Yeah.
accurate.
yeah, and the department head would be held accountable
Yeah.
if they certified something that's.
Like you
not
say, you
accurate.
clocked in at 9 o'clock, and I saw you at 10:30 at the mall, we have an issue.
Yeah.
Well, that's a conversation to have with the department heads also. It should be included in that.
Right, but from what you told me, Mike, the 3,000, whatever that add-on is, it doesn't sound like it's worth that expense, because, you know, I don't know, like, it depends on how you want to handle it.
All right, we'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
Do you know when that's gonna be obsolesced, Craig? There is a
Harris?
date on that. Yeah, the
Harris,
payroll.
the Harris contract? I was
Well,
told
the
the
payroll,
MMA.
when we have to make a change from the fingerprint readers. We don't know, right?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Again, I've been kept in the dark with all, and coincidentally, Andrew came in the middle of all this, right? So
Yeah.
he's trying to, like, he and I are constantly in contact via text, like I'm answering questions from helping him out as best I can. You know, he's really trying hard to, you know, make sense of what he's walked into. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know the details of the Edmunds agreement contract. I don't really know much other than what you and Andrew have told me. So,
Thank you for saying that about Andrew. And Mike, is it possible to get, I assume you have this and the information, can you send Craig like what it is we have as far as,
Oh, this
he
software?
said he's not sure what plugins we are subscribing to.
yeah, you know,
Can you just
so,
like send him that? 'Cause I feel
Yeah,
like,
no problem.
I mean,
because you're gonna start to manage that, right?
it'll help me help you guys better. If I have a better understanding of what you have, what you guys are working with. I don't need to get into Edmunds. I don't need that, but to understand what modules you're gonna be using or purchased or where the concerns are, you know, it'll help me help you, right? So that's all. I don't need or want access into it though.
Okay, thank you.
That's not necessary, okay?
Thanks.
All right, so good seeing everyone.
Thanks, Craig.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Mike, can I ask you one other question?
Sure.
When, I gotta see what that says. When he asked who approved the different things and he was unsure who approved them, who approved them? Have you uncovered that? Do we know?
The individual modules?
Yeah, like he said, I don't know who approved the different packages and the different things we're subscribing to. Do we know who approved them?
Exactly. The
Oh, it
treasurer.
is, okay.
We operated, the board operated under the guidance of the old treasurer, who didn't even give us, as I remember, the information of the other packages. It was just her advisement, and she said, we need this, and this. So there were other things that would have been really nice to know, like having somebody on site to do data conversion, rather than having Edmunds do the off-site
Right.
data conversion, where they log into our computers and tie up our computer systems for 3 days. You know, where nobody can enter any data for 3 days. Yes, that's a real thing. So, yeah, that would have been very nice to know before we agreed to that contract. But we were also looking at a cheaper contract for the village, and all these other services would have been add-ons. So it would have been quite a bit more costly in the long run too. Nothing for nothing. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just curious. Just wanted clarification.
All right, tonight we have scheduled 2 public hearings. The first one is going to be on outdoor dining. Can I have a motion to open the hearing?
I'll make the
Second.
Adam,
Trustee Lauricella, seconded by Trustee Huber. All in favor?
Aye. Mayor votes aye.
Carried. This is local law for 2022. It'll be it's the second one for the year. And it provides for temporary outdoor restaurant dining. The actual local law is very long, several pages. You should all have had that by now a few times. And Attorney Wallace, are we prepared to go with the law that you prepared? Everything finished?
So this was, everybody will recall that this matter had to go to county planning for review and comment. We received their review and comment yesterday, like late yesterday. And it was, actually, they designated it a matter of local concern with comment, but the comments that were made, I do need to review with our building department, our zoning administrator, Brian Murphy, and I'm going to have to make revisions, so I'm recommending that the board not take any action. You can, I know that you've opened the public hearing tonight. You can keep it open till the next meeting on June 8th, at which point we will have a final version in your laps, I'm hoping by Friday. this particular law with the comments that were incorporated by County Planning's 239 letter. Okay, I will share that with you as well. So I expect to have that done by Friday for your review, and that will be the final version for your consideration on the June 8th meeting. So I would, the board would need to entertain a motion to table that particular local law.
Is there a motion to table?
I'll make the motion to table the local law.
Second. You're gonna send.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, Mayor votes aye.
Carried. That one will remain open, and I'll schedule it for June 8th. The second one is for local law, vehicles and traffic. There were several traffic signs that you wanted moved and other things done. Clap Avenue, East Academy Street, Franklin Street, Pell Place. At the last meeting, you made some corrections to the draft that I have. And Attorney Wallace, where are we with that one?
So I did circulate that draft, but it was too late for your consideration tonight. So I would ask that you table this motion as well, but if you would,
We're here for afterwards.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand it, so it's tabled, so I'll come back next time.
no, actually, if you want, if you,
We should have asked you, it's open.
Yeah.
We opened the
Before you-
meeting, so.
before doing so, the board can open the public hearing and keep it open so that you don't have to come back.
Yeah, let's do that.
I just, you know what, I would probably rather come back. I've had a couple emergencies personally, so I hadn't looked it over yet. So I'll wait for the final version on Friday, and then I'll come back on June 8th. But I just wanted to make sure that, like, I understood what was going on, just because I own a business in the village, so.
Can you leave your name and contact information with the clerk?
Absolutely. Would you like me to do
Before you
that
leave
now?
tonight? Yeah.
Yes, sure. My name is Vanessa Goodwin. I can spell it if you need to.
What are we doing now? We're gonna,
Just giving you some.
She's the proprietor at Coop Champagne Bar on the corner of
and she's interested in the
Hill and West Main.
outdoor dining one?
Right.
Okay. And what am I gonna do? I'm gonna contact her?
No, just get the contact information,
Well,
contact information so we can send it.
Mike.
her contact.
It's Vanessa, V-A-N-E-S-S-A. Goodwin, Goodwin. And do you prefer my email or my phone?
Oh,
My phone, it's 845-559-9899.
92?
845-559-9899.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I need a motion to open the public hearing for the local law.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Recommendation is to table this motion as well to June 8th for conclusion of public hearing and for action on the local law.
Craig, can I just ask you, what was it, what part was missed? Was it just that Pell spot?
Okay, I can tell you. Can you give me 2 seconds? The red line version that I sent out had the original text and the red line text. The new red line version incorporates the changes that were made. So there was the direction of travel on a one-way street. I think we amended it to remove Pell's Place from that inclusion as a one-way, and you can see that the I also I believe one of the trustees wanted Prospect Street East from South Avenue to South Remsen Avenue and wanted us to delete the Sundays only, but keep in, you know, that as a permanent one-way. And
Oh, okay, yeah, I see that. So it's more than just that Pell.
yeah, the West Street, the new parking prohibited at all times. The West Street was original version was north side of West Street, but we changed it to south.
I see. This doesn't reflect any of the changes that we did last.
Correct.
This is the old
But
document.
the new document now does. So this is on your, I guess you could say this is on your table, and it has to be on your, in front of you for at least 7 days. So you will have plenty of time. This version only made those 4 changes. Also on Hillside Avenue, time limit parking, we changed that to the east side of Hillside Avenue with 2-hour parking from West Street to Walker Place. That was at the request of Trustee Huber. And those are the 4 changes.
Can I just ask you to clarify what you were saying about Prospect? To make, maybe I misunderstood.
Prospect.
Right now, it is one way only for Sunday mornings. And I thought we were just gonna,
Right, so this would be a permanent one-way only from South Avenue to South Remsen Avenue, eastbound. So just that section of Prospect would be one way.
no, that was not my understanding.
All
because-
the time?
That's what,
That's not
No.
my understanding
No.
either.
so that's good. So what was it supposed to be?
I thought we might be deleting the one-way on Sunday morning.
That was my
because
understanding.
Church attendance has dropped.
Yeah, we're not gonna have any one-way on Sundays, it's not enforceable. So that's what we're gonna do the Clinton Street one-way, and that other one was to delete the one-way on Sundays.
No, it will be two-way, 7 days, 24/7
That's on Prospect?
on Prospect.
Okay, so according to this version, I had deleted Pell's Place from Clinton Street to Convent Avenue from 4:30 on Saturday to 1:30 on Sunday. That was deleted in its entirety.
Your side, your side.
Is that still?
I think so.
Okay, deal with no
think so.
temporary one-way.
There's 2 other, excuse me, trustees,
We
is,
found another error, so before we.
but is.
Why don't we
is that-
start from the beginning,
is that
Clap
cor-
Avenue?
Is that correct with the Hells and Clinton? That we
Deleting
do-
the one-ways on Pell's, Clinton,
Yes,
Okay.
I didn't know Pell was the one way, but
just the part inside of St. Mary's to Convent.
oh, okay. Yeah, that I can do.
Right,
yeah.
so that we're not having any.
Yeah.
Correct.
There's another one you found?
Okay, yes, the other error we found is here it says what,
What's the schedule though? If you could-
yep, I'm saying Schedule 7, 14350, Schedule 7, parking prohibited at all times. 1, 2, 3, 4th down, it's redlined, it says West Street, north, and then redlined south.
Yep.
So you're prohibiting the south, you're gonna be prohibiting parking on the south side? Which is already, I believe, the case, but is that what that will say?
From West Main to Brown Avenue.
Yes,
Prohibited on the south, allowed on the north.
that is already a law.
That's.
Because just for the sake of it, that's currently what's happening.
That kept, because that is the law right now, as of,
So what should it be? Should it be the north? Or you want to keep that?
parking on the north side of West Street from West Main to Brown Avenue is parking.
Right, so it's correct
So
what
it's-
it already is.
Okay, so it's correct way it
I
is?
think the purpose of that was just to clarify, because we were unsure if it was officially
Right.
in law.
But I'm just saying, just to be clear, this law, the red line is what is prohibited. The south side will continue to be prohibited, allowing parking on the north side. As it will read in the upcoming revision, correct?
I say you take that one out, because that's already a law, isn't it? That mean, I was on the board when that law was
I
made.
have included the police commissioner, but as well. But if it's already a law, I mean, we shouldn't be.
Yeah, I'd scratch that one. That one's already a law.
All All right, I'll check and see if that is the case. So West Street,
From West Main to Brown Avenue.
Parking is prohibited on the north side,
On the north side already, yeah.
right?
No.
So that's
No,
Parking is permitted currently on the north side and should remain that way.
Okay, stay on the
Parking is currently prohibited on the south side and should remain as such.
it is, all right, so we have to check and see if that is the
Right.
current status quo.
And just make sure,
It is
and I just
what the law-
wanted to clarify that that is what this law, that is how this is, what it's articulating.
So we shouldn't be banning something twice, is what you're saying.
Well, no, well, there's that, but I also just wanted to make sure I was reading it correct. Because
So
there's,
if you read it, it says parking would be prohibited at all times,
yeah.
okay? And I
Um,
crossed out north and put south, the
Right.
south side
yeah,
of
okay.
West Street. So if that is currently the case, there's no sense in, shooting the cow twice, I guess, so I will delete that from this version. But I gotta check and make sure
Yeah,
with Clerk Cars if that's
Well, this
the
is
case.
right, okay.
All right. Can I just get clarification though on the one-way streets? From this board? I have one-way streets shall be amended. I'm reading from the section 3, 143-42, which is schedule 4, one-way streets. One-way streets shall be amended to remove Clinton Street, Convent Avenue, and Pell's Place, and add Reservoir Place, which shall read as follows. So we're adding Reservoir, which is,
Right, that's correct.
okay. But we're removing Clinton, Convent, and Pell's,
Yes.
Right.
okay? And then the red line version, I removed Pell's Place in its entirety, actually. The original version had it, during church hours. Okay?
Okay.
And Prospect Street now
It's
would
to be
be,
removed. To be removed.
there's 2 Prospect Streets, one on eastbound and one on west.
The
west
This is-
remains, the west
west
stays the
remains,
same, and then the
east-
east gets removed.
east Prospect gets removed.
Yeah,
So-
completely. So it's
Sunday,
gonna be
one way
2 ways.
only on East Prospect is deleted.
Deleted, gone.
Well, I did delete Sundays only.
Right, but
Right.
it's
But
just
you want-
now direction and travel,
It is not
it's
one
gonna
way.
be a one way at all.
Okay.
So
It's
just
gonna be a two-way street.
kill the whole thing
All right, so Prospect Street East will be deleted.
in its entirety.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, got it. I think we're good now.
All right, can we have a motion to keep the hearing open to June 8th?
I'll make the motion.
Second the motion.
Who was that? All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor votes aye.
Carried. All right. Next. Next thing we're gonna do. We have a resolution for the Route 9 manhole permanent repair for contractor Saccone. But I believe we're not prepared for this at the moment. Is that correct, Attorney?
Yes,
Wallace?
I've been working with Trustee Sadati on this extensively, and we've had meetings. And I've also been in touch with our village engineer. We are just, I would like the trustees to have more detailed information about this project. So I asked for a meeting on Friday in Village Hall with this contractor, who has agreed to meet with us and provide us with that, at which point I will then forward it to all of you. So I'm recommending, because this is such a tight time frame and a very important project, this is an extension of an emergency project, I'm recommending a special meeting for this one particular contract consideration to sometime next week. Now, I understand that one of the trustees can't be here next Wednesday. Next Thursday would be the 3rd. I'm sorry, the 2nd, June 2nd. Is it possible? that we can have a consensus to meet for that.
What time?
6 o'clock, is that okay?
Yeah,
John?
I'll make myself available any day that the rest of the board can be available.
Can we say 6:30?
Pressing.
6:30 on Tuesday, on Thursday.
There'll be just one item, this item.
Okay.
Are we all,
I have no objection to 6:30.
that's fine by me.
I think it should be two items then.
Are we gonna be taking, or
Yes,
we're gonna have to consider that other item and do them both at once?
Yes.
What's the other item?
The
Sewer
approval
main.
for contact.
Contact, which is also on this, their
You
companion.
need one to approve the other.
Well, you could do the second one conditionally upon the approval of the manholes. We could award, he is the low bid, and he gets the contract on the condition that we do the manhole, because he's not gonna be able to do it unless we do the manholes.
That's right.
Yeah, that's.
You only need one. You could vote tonight to award the next item. So I'm gonna,
You give them a go, you're basically, we're not giving them the go-ahead until we make the final vote on the manholes,
yeah,
What-
right?
contingent.
So, right,
Contingent.
so it really makes no difference.
It's a conditional approval.
Right.
Okay.
Conditional.
I guess we can do that, yeah.
So I will schedule a special meeting for 6:30, June, what, 2nd?
Once again, they get their way.
What's that?
June 2nd,
June
okay.
2nd,
Why?
6:30?
6:30, June 2nd.
Approval of our own.
We need their approval?
We're giving,
Okay,
So is there a motion to accept that at the special meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Why are we giving them,
Accept the special meeting.
why are we giving,
Date and time? June 2nd?
June 2nd, 6:30 PM to approve the construction bid for Route 9 sewer manholes.
correct. You should have the data by then. So,
Is there a
that was
second?
trustee Larisella.
no, I'm not making any motions about any of this.
Who,
I'm not involved in that part.
who made the
I made
motion?
the motion.
Okay,
Trustee Sadati made it.
All right, I'll second the motion.
Trustee Ruffin has seconded it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Carried. All right, so the next item,
Is the board's position you want to keep, table it until we do the manholes, or do we want to give a conditional approval?
I want to table it until we do the
I
manholes.
agree.
If we can't if we can't
Yeah.
can't do the Route 9 manholes, we can't do
Fine.
these.
Does the board have an objection to that?
No, I support trustee Huber.
we have a motion by trustee Huber to table the approval for construction bids for the Route 9 sewer project. We have a second,
I'll second it.
seconded by trustee Sadati, all in favor?
Aye.
One item I skipped over, that's carried, by the way.
So that would also join the,
This is special meeting.
at the special meeting.
Right,
Right, we're gonna, if it goes forward, they both get approved on that day.
all right. We need approval for the utilities rate increase. The water would be increased by 5%, sewer by 5%, residential garbage, the senior rate would go up by $3, the regular rate would go up by $4, outside the village rate would go up by $5, effective June 1st,
With the June 1st billing.
with the June 1st bill.
Before anybody votes, can I make a comment?
Yes.
First of all, this is exclusively a water board consideration, so, I mean, if the board wants to go ahead and express their support, they can do so, but this is, anything that has to do with rates is actually within the purview of the water board.
Except for residential garbage, right?
Except for garbage, except for sewer,
For
and
adults,
except with the fact that the water board knows that the rates are going up by this amount and has no objection.
I think that they took action at the last water board to increase the rates, correct?
I believe so.
So,
We talked about it.
if they haven't done so already, we'll make sure that it's conditioned on their approval, of course.
All right, can we have a motion?
At the, excuse me, clerk, at the upcoming meeting? Yes. Okay.
So the motion would be to accept these rate increases contingent on the water board approving the 5%. Correct? Can I have a motion?
Yes.
Yeah.
No motion?
I'll make that motion.
We have a second?
I'll second it. Kojak.
Trustee Tillishek? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Carried.
I'll abstain.
One abstention.
Thank you.
Noted. Discussion West Main Street sidewalk collapse. Trustee Larissella.
Yeah, okay, great, thanks. So, speaking from the point of view of just driving that road, I've witnessed personally several very precarious situations on West Main where the sidewalk has been compromised through to the faulty work of Central Hudson. I've watched families, children, elderly people, families of 4 and 5 negotiating around this area. I've read local publications that are not only expressing their great concern, but lampooning the village board and I have fielded question after question about it, and I started to think really long and hard about the situation we find ourselves in, and the reason why they have closed that, according to the higher ups at the DOT, stating that the roadway is essentially the right-of-way, which is not limited to the sidewalk, has been compromised such that it's unsafe. So I strong, and we're getting nowhere. We've implored people. I am going to officially request that the mayor issue a state of emergency, contact the New York State Department of Transportation, issue a letter, and I'm going to tell you, issue a letter stating that we would like to close the northbound side closest to the gorge, address it to Mr. Lance McMillan, CC Brian Fuoco, Greg Bentley, Lee Zimmer, and Paul Tirums, all New York State. Fuoco is Central Hudson Gas and Electric, the rest are New York State Department of Transportation. Request that they provide us with, and they should, and I assume will, automated red lights to create the flow of traffic. And it's the only, right now we've been put on such notice, the safety, if someone gets struck, if the earth falls into the gorge, if we have another disaster, it's going to be hard to not hang our heads in shame. And if the New York State Department of Transportation, if Central Hudson will not assume liability, we need to advocate for our residents, our business owners, our visitors, and take this. Granted, I understand it's a courageous step, but something needs to happen, and I'm going to formally ask that you do that, and that the board support you on that. Because at this point, we've been told that our residents are not worth, protecting.
A crap. I agree.
Any thoughts? Does anybody have any?
I agree with you on this. It's embarrassing. But if we had a college in the center of town, you can bet your ass that sidewalk would have been fixed.
Yeah, I think we need to apply pressure at this juncture to try to get something done. We can't just sit on our hands any longer.
We can't wait for the state officials to help us out.
I would also say one other
Because they're
people
not.
CC should be Sue Serino, Dee Dee Barrett, Sean Patrick Maloney, Kathy Hochul. I know it's a big ask, and I'm not doing this for dramatics or optics. This is a sincere. I think this is what needs to be done, and if you know, I would like to see that happen.
Maybe heard, Mayor?
Pardon?
Maybe heard on that?
Sure.
So you'll recall that this board actually asked the mayor to send out a letter last month with the water bills as an explanation to the village residents about what was going on with that and why the village of Wappingers Falls hands were tied, and to encourage that they reach out to their local leaders, and a lot of them did. And I did, and as you know, Senator Serino's office has reached out to the village to see what they can do, because as everybody knows, this is a state highway. Unfortunately, on a state highway, we have to bow to the highway law, and we can't do anything with that highway unless the state consents to whatever action we ask to take. So there has been a long history. I agree. It's been September of 2020 that this incident occurred. I had asked, I followed up with Senator Serino's office last week to see where we were with respect to any contact with DOT, and they did not have any update to report. I heard from Trustee Lorcella today, and I also tried to contact DOT myself. I have been in touch with their Legal Affairs Division up in Buffalo, asking for an update, and nobody has responded to me at Legal Affairs, who I was dealing with last year. And I have, I'm hopeful. I know that one of the engineers was on vacation this week, so I'm hopeful I'll get a call back, after the holiday, and I'll have something to report to this particular board. But at this point in time, I just want, the record to reflect the efforts that this board has made with respect to, a solution here.
Can I just make?
So I don't think that's affecting what the trustee is asking for, though.
I just want to clarify just a couple things regarding the legal suggestions. And just to remind that we've been doing some research, and we will remember that Mayor de Blasio shut down miles of state road in the city during COVID with the Penn strike. And the governor could write an executive order to reopen it, but we found in section 24 of the local state emergency law, in the event of a reasonable apprehension of immediate danger thereof, and upon finding by the chief executive thereof, Mayor Serino, the public safety is imperiled thereby, such chief executive may proclaim a local state of emergency within any part of the territorial limits of such local government, etc. Following such proclamation and during the continuance of such local state of emergency, the chief executive may promulgate local emergency orders to protect life and property or to bring the emergency situation under control. And one other, the establishment of a curfew and the prohibition and control of pedestrian and vehicular traffic except essential emergency vehicle and personnel. The designation of specified zones within which the occupancy, use of the buildings, and the egress and ingress of vehicles and persons may be prohibited or regulated. So, would it be easy? No. Can it be done? Yes. And at the very least, if you do it and there's a fight and you lose, at least you did it and you advocated for the people that are paying the taxes and going to the ballot box.
So with that said,
Thank you for listening.
would you want the letter to close off the section of West Main Street from the bottom of the hill to the top of Church Street? To
Yep.
the top of West Main Street at Church Street?
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
So basically,
It's a 1 block stretch. It's at the bottom of the hill, at the bridge.
At the pharmacy.
And both,
Right.
Well, it would be one way, basically. Or I mean, yeah, I'm all for shutting the whole stretch down. That was what I would do, the easiest.
But that's,
they could come back and say, well, we're gonna take away all your parking on that side,
That's fine.
and that'll be your southbound, and then your northbound that you have today would be moved over one.
I bet you they'll field a lot of phone
Too close.
calls if anything
You're
happens.
too close.
If we do any of
And then
that.
you lose all your parking on that side of the street.
I think
might lose a car.
I think it's still too narrow there, John.
The goal is basically to just get this repaired, so.
Here's the thing, the trucks ride that road every
Protect
day.
people.
Every day trucks go through that, just the
Thousands of pounds, tons.
vibrations of that thing is going down.
School buses.
School
all the
buses.
time. Yep,
Bus full of load of kids.
yep.
so I would,
We have torrential rain. It just doesn't rain, it just pours. So,
Oh, that's okay.
Just northbound or both?
No, it's.
maybe
Oh, I
the,
trust, like we said, they we'll suggest, a stoplight situation. They're doing it right now on
Oh, I
on
see.
9D.
Oh, I
There'd be
see. Yeah.
they would let, stop them up top, like green through, and then let them back through. So it would be two-way traffic just on one
Oh,
lane.
yeah.
I don't think
Right.
we want that.
I mean, I would close it
What
or
else
do the
would-
one
What
way.
else would you want? Not have them
Yeah.
open at all?
At west and at.
Northbound side is closed.
That seems a little.
They close it.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, I mean,
Were you,
would be hindering
Pat,
businesses at that point.
Pat,
Because you do have businesses on that actual
I
road.
think you gotta keep one lane
If you
open.
had the walk, you'd be able to get to the, maybe you get to where you repark.
We should keep one lane open because you do have to get emergency vehicles through.
Well, emergency vehicles would always be able to, shut down.
Yeah, but then you don't.
Even if it was fully shut down, an emergency
I like
vehicle.
your original plan.
I
The
think
mayor just got the draft. I would have shut down both lanes.
you need to shut down both. You don't need to shut down both lanes. I think you need to leave one lane open for emergency vehicles.
the northbound lane of West Main Street.
I make going south in the village open. There's no northbound lane. South only.
That's what
Yeah,
I
he's
just
agreeing.
said.
Yeah.
That's what I just said.
Yep.
And see what happens.
And no parking on that West Main, that part of Main Street, this way it's wide enough. You know what I'm saying?
Great, so do I make a motion?
Well, hold on.
No.
You're gonna now cancel the parking on the south side coming down the hill?
Yeah.
Why?
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 Because we're deeming the road not safe there, so the further we're over to the curb, the better off we are.
Oh, I see.
I don't know if we have the ability to deem it unsafe and to,
No, we didn't. It's been deemed unsafe by the DOT. The sidewalk is also the right of way.
But
It's the
there's no-
roadway.
wait a minute.
We didn't do it. We've been provided that documentation.
that.
We wanna make a
just-
statement.
Just for the record.
I'll make a statement.
Yeah, just for the record, the village owns property over in that location, and we were the victim of somebody else's negligence that damaged our property. DOT in September of 2020. And since then, Central Hudson, who damaged our property, has been pointing the fingers at a contractor that worked a month prior to that, 200 feet to the south, named Contact.
Yeah.
Okay? And New York State DOT has deemed the location very sensitive. They came up with a design to repair it. However, they looked to the village to pay for it,
Yeah.
along with Central Hudson.
Right.
Central Hudson refused to pay anything toward it
Correct.
unless the village paid the same amount.
Correct.
And this board voted not to do so, and rightfully so, because we were the victim of somebody else's negligence
Right.
that damaged our property.
Yeah.
So
It
that-
is their road, but public safety within the village limits is the mayor and the board of trustees' responsibility.
I will check with DOT, but I only believe that the mayor can maybe write a letter to DOT suggesting road closure.
That's what that's basically what we're looking for, right?
You're just looking for a letter suggesting the road closure.
Well, no, I never just am looking for a little, I'm not at all.
We're looking for a letter to shut
bite
it
kind
down.
of dog.
I think you
know
should
that.
deem it as it's an
Right.
emergency.
Yeah. I would make it an emergency and I would call and I would.
What I
start
think
the
really,
ball.
what I would suggest is we get our engineer to do an engineer-to-engineer discussion with New York State DOT.
Yeah, we can do that.
Because
while
I
it's
think
closed.
that is really not our call, this board's call.
I just respectfully disagree.
Okay.
We're continually being counseled that it's not in our purview. And you know what? Maybe we'll do it and maybe they'll reverse it. But right now, what we do is nothing. And that's just unsettling to me.
Let's be clear. The northbound lane in this letter will be closed from the bottom of West Main.
I would go Market Street.
Really?
This way. I would go for Market Street.
Or you could go in by the pharmacy.
Yeah, but that's a dead end, and it's pain. If you
Yeah.
got a tractor trailer, it's got to turn around. It's
That's true.
not so good.
We don't have the authority to close.
Or a box truck. There's people parked back there.
I don't think that that's correct, Trustee Tilichuk.
Sorry?
I don't think I think we do. That's what I keep trying. I mean, I read something that suggests if you know, that you can.
I absolutely, I will support writing a letter suggesting it. That will be a great inconvenience to many village residents as well as the threat they suffer right now. I think we need to light a fire under them, absolutely. If this helps do that, I support it. But I'm not signing on to actually close the road at this moment in time.
But just to clarify, when you say we don't have the authority to do it, I just read several pieces of law that suggest that we do.
No, I heard you, and I am not a lawyer. I am just saying.
Oh, but you.
What I'm suggesting is, I would like to find out we need to light a fire under Central Hudson and the state DOT.
So if you shut the road down, the fire will be lit.
There's a
There you
difference
go.
between lighting a fire and arson.
Okay, well, whatever. I just am. I'm literally. I am so exhausted by ineffectiveness.
Okay, so once a motion is made,
Can I just ask a question so I understand this a little better? Now, you're saying that you want to close the road at Market Street. So anybody that's coming from down the hill,
northbound.
right.
So, coming
So
from the
if you pass Mizzier and you're coming down the road closed. You either go back up Mill Street or you go down Market Street. Is that what you're saying is going to
Yeah.
happen at that particular point?
Yep.
And then the only traffic that will be coming down that road will be
Through traffic.
traffic coming southbound.
And foot traffic. But just for the record, that's what's been altered. What I proposed was we shut down the northbound lane, make it a both ways via the southbound side, being provided a signal light
Right.
through the state. That's what I actually initially said.
I like-
If it wants to migrate into something else, I'm fine, because I'm actually supporting closing the whole thing.
So the how I think about that is I think that'll be much more functional and it'll be less disturbing for the residents, but I don't think that'll bother DOT as much because they'll see that we have a solution that it's working.
Okay, maybe not. That's a good point.
So, but I am, I mean, I see kids getting off of school buses there. I mean, does that reroute some of them that would normally go up
Oh, absolutely.
northbound?
I've seen so many people
I
almost
mean,
get splattered. 'cause
I
go,
I
and
understand.
I'm like,
I'm just trying
white knuckling.
to think what the backlash will be and what our answers for the backlash would be.
well, it will be
Or
contact
possible
Central Hudson
solution-
and the New York State
Well, we also
Department
want to
of
have
Transportation.
possible solutions
And Sue
for
Serino and
the
Mahoney.
residents or the school bus drivers or the school, if the school calls.
Why don't we get our engineer involved in perhaps crafting a local law prohibiting trucks over a certain weight from, and making that recommendation to state DOT.
Yeah.
Because that
We
might,
can do all of those things.
that might be a great way to actually cut down on the wear and tear.
Yeah, but I don't think that's gonna do anything. I think we need to shut their road down. This road, that sidewalk's been closed for 2 years.
It's
We-
compromised.
But you're almost effectively shutting down, you know, very heavy tractor trailers.
Yeah, but that's all right. I mean, that's not the problem in the village. The problem is the sidewalk. The problem is we need to get this thing fixed. So having no truck traffic, this can go on for years with no truck traffic, which would be great. But to the point is, we still want our sidewalk fixed. There's still people walking on that side of the street. They shouldn't be walking on that side of the street, but they chose to do it.
And if it's unsafe, it's unsafe.
Yeah.
Is it unsafe or is it safe? If it's safe, if it's safe, then allow us to put a temporary bridge on so pedestrians can walk. I mean, it's like these things that, you know, we keep getting faced with, you know, it's not my pipe, but you got to fix the pipe, but I won't let you fix it. It's not your sidewalk, we won't let you fix it. It's our sidewalk, we won't fix it, but you can't either.
Yeah, if that road could support a tractor trailer, we could put a bridge over the sidewalk.
But if it's so compromised, you can't have a little aluminum footbridge designed by an authorized engineer, then I question if the truck is.
We should have our engineer look at it. You guys are exactly right.
Well, I will tell you that Casey did,
Yeah.
and they designed a bridge, and the state said no.
The state said no.
It's not safe enough. We can't do it.
Well, maybe another set of eyes and a different suggestion.
Okay, to your point,
Shut it down, Mayor.
specifically to the trustee's point of a road closure, do you want the northbound lane closed with, in that one block section, because I don't think it's right to close it at Market Street, okay? And you could have local traffic only to the bottom of the hill on the northbound side.
But what would that create for everybody that goes past Market Street? Where are they gonna, there's a dead end there. The left is a dead end.
Yeah, and if you get a tractor trailer trying out the local deliveries,
I mean, if you let them go past Market Street, you're just asking for a lot of.
Well, no, it can be closed there, but there are some people who have to get down to the bottom of the hill.
So you're saying close it at Market Street, you said past Market Street. I'm just saying, if we're gonna close that street, you need to give them a right and a left to get out of. Because people are gonna go down there.
Yeah, I hear you on that, but there are,
Go to a dead end?
let the
there are
engineers
people
decide.
who live down at that bottom who park behind the buildings
Let the engineers decide.
up on West Main Street. There's parking behind the buildings. You gotta let them get to,
Right, that's local traffic only, but you
That's
can't have
local.
through traffic.
oh, no.
Because your through traffic is gonna get stuck there where there's a dead end.
No through traffic beyond this point. Now, or do you want,
If we do the signal, it's gonna cost us a crap load of money because we're gonna have to rent them and DOT's not gonna supply them.
No, I don't know if that's true.
And it's gonna back up.
I had a conversation.
It's gonna back up
That
traffic.
leads me to believe.
I'm not in favor of the traffic signal.
I'd shut down one lane.
We're gonna ask them for that, or we should just shut it down and then.
What you showed us that? Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm saying we should
And you get a
propose it that we're gonna put this up and just assume the responsibility for it, right?
You get a couple rainy days, that's
Wouldn't that
solar
be-
power runs out.
Putting us in a negative impact situation.
Sure, yeah. I'm just saying.
If we shut it down, we've given everything. If we say we're going to do it, we're giving them an opportunity to say, if you don't fix this, we're gonna take more strenuous action.
Can
Yeah, I like that. That
Can we
sounds
shut it down with a date, like as of such and such a date, we're gonna shut it down,
Let's-
give them the opportunity
Okay,
to
yeah.
contact us?
So we'll have a board meeting in June 8th. Let's talk to our engineer, take a bit of what,
You're drawing for the walkway.
take a bit of what the attorney has said with the engineer to see the best emergency possible position, and then under the emergency powers, I will then write a letter and I'll have it submitted by June 8th.
I just have one suggestion.
Yes.
So I think we should go back to the idea of the temporary sidewalk, right? We should get supporting documentation from our engineer if he so supports that. That we do we say, listen, we have this temporary fix because this is a life safety issue. And if they do not accept that, then we will have to deem that road, they would essentially deem that road a problem, and we would then close it down. We really want the sidewalk open. It's not gonna get repaired until this litigation is figured out. The state's not gonna repair it. They're gonna allow us, if, in worst case, they would,
I don't think we're in litigation.
aren't we?
We are not.
Or is it?
We're not in litigation.
We are not in litigation.
So really,
Until we get there, we're not gonna get anything done. Who's
well,
gonna pay the
the
bill?
goal is,
Who's gonna do the sidewalk and the retaining wall? Right, aren't we gonna have to litigate this, Craig, with somebody to
Well,
eventually?
All right, this is a little complicated, but again, we are the victim of somebody else's negligence, namely Central Hudson. And Central Hudson has pointed the finger at Contact, who happened to be working on our behalf a month earlier at a different location. We do have indemnification and defense under Contact's contract with us. So thankfully, we are not on the hook for counsel fees and damages. However, we do not have the opportunity to unilaterally fix anything right now because the state has to approve the design. Our prior engineer provided a design which was rejected. That is not to say it may.
Rejected in what regard? That it can't support the weight?
Yeah, it wasn't safe.
For whatever reason, DOT rejected the design.
Did they approve an alternative to that when they rejected that? Or did they just say leave it closed ad infinitum?
Yeah, they roped it off and put signs on each side of the street saying this sidewalk is closed.
So maybe what I'm saying is our present engineer might have, a better relationship or somebody he can talk to engineer to engineer to come up with something temporary, to make us happy.
Or a better design, period.
So I think that
should reach
I wouldn't foreclose that possibility because maybe that is the quickest way to at least get a temporary, fix here.
Well, as of this moment, our relationship with DOT is halfway decent, but we'll see. We'll see next week if it continues to be that way. Could reach out to Cassandra maybe and see if she could help us out with some ideas.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So where do we stand with what we're doing right now?
Okay, so we're gonna talk to we'll talk to the engineer, see what he comes up with, and then, based on that, we'll have a letter for the board for their review before I send it out at the June 8th meeting.
thank you very much.
Okay, who will be contacting the village engineer to do that?
I can do that. I'd be happy to.
Okay, good. All right. Roadrunners Club, Mark Sanfilippo is taking his father's place on these runs. If you didn't know his father, he ran them forever. Need approval for the 43rd Joseph McDonald Bill Cruzy run, Saturday, June 4th.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Seconded by trustee Lauricella. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mayor
Carried.
votes aye.
Carried. Discussion budget issues and bank reconciliation, trustee Ruffin.
So there were some issues with wind tax conversion to Edmonds, but fortunately Andrew was able to get documentation and electronic files needed from M&T Bank. Thank you to M&T Bank for supplying that information. So no action is needed on that from the board. There were some, I was under the impression last week when I put this item on the agenda, that we'd have to approve some extra funds for that, data conversion again, but that's not the case. We're all done, no extra money needed, so that's great. Again, thank you, Andrew, thank you, M&T Bank. The question that I'd like to bring to the board and possibly hold a vote for this is, we're all aware that there are residential sewer, water, and garbage bank recs that need to be taken care of. Water and sewer dating back to 2012, residential garbage dating back to 2015. And if it's the pleasure of the board, can we make some kind of vote tonight so that we can move forward and maybe put an ad in the paper, or come to a conclusion if we want to hire another entity or firm? Obviously, if we hire another firm for this, it's going to be more expensive. If we could flesh out this job description, i.e. A part-time employee up to 20 hours a week to work at Village Hall just to do these bank recs, that would, be very much appreciated. Okay, does anybody have any questions on this?
Well, just hold your thought on that, because then we can move to we can jump down a little bit to the extra hours for residential garbage clerk, the secretary to the planning board, to assist the treasurer. Okay, so you might want to dovetail a person with bank reconciliations with something in there. Now,
Why don't we just take care of the both of them right now at the same time?
well, that's what I'm attempting to try to do, Trustee Huber.
Okay?
Okay? Now, I don't know what Trustee Lauricella wants to say relative to the planning board. I think, I don't see the peak workload for the treasurer impacting the secretary to the planning board. So,
Do you want to hear it, or do you want to wait?
well, go ahead, I'd let you put it on.
Yeah, no, I didn't know if he was like, now you're ready or not. Okay.
No.
So, well, I will say that my first thought was that the bank rec person is very much its own person. I wouldn't think that the garbage, but this is what I had in mind with the idea of our garbage, what's the title?
Residential garbage.
Residential garbage clerk was, we've given a finite amount of 5-hour. It seems as if there's quite a lot that this individual is experienced with and capable of in a great resource capacity, helping with more than just their job. One of the things that the clerk has done, and I'm sure that Trustee Ruffin can attest to, has become someone that is getting well versed in Edmunds, which has been, obviously, as we see, don't really have the bandwidth for it, but it seems like it's very complicated and involves a lot of effort and brain power for all of these people. So my thought was, if we could make the additional 5 hours optional, doesn't mean they have to even be used for that individual, where to plug and play, because it seems to me that our current treasurer could use the clerk's expertise and willingness to assist, and he's currently leaning on her quite a bit as is. But it wouldn't be like you have to do these extra 5 hours, and I don't even know what specific, but the vouchers, the payroll, if 5 hours comes in, if it doesn't. I also thought that while we were doing that, we've had many, many requests from the building department to bolster the planning clerks hours. We're in the process through Mike, myself, and Attorney Wallace. There's been some emails going back and forth with the tickets. We're in a full court press. And it would also alleviate some of the challenges of singling out one person for an increase in hours. So the impetus was, how can garbage clerk assist treasurer, who historically has through several years and several treasurers. So it wasn't give them the 5 hours, it's allow the 5 hours to be used as needed without this sense that the board has to micromanage the hours.
You mean up to 5 hours per week as necessary?
Correct.
Okay.
And if those 5 hours, for example, just to be completely candid, there's a good chance those 5 hours will always be necessary for the building. I'm just guessing. There's a lot of work. We do not have an assistant any longer currently. And there's still a lot of work. There's 2 people in that office. So there probably will be. Garbage clerk, as some weeks I would think, right now I would think that extra 5 hours is a no-brainer. And I wonder if those 5 hours in the dog days of summer will be there, or around the holiday will be there, or when the need is there. But it may help because we're still all trying to figure out what exactly is needed in the treasurer's office. And this is somebody who is, it's cheaper than creating another position. And it's independent of the bank recs. It's not somebody, they're not going to be doing the bank recs. The bank recs is someone completely different with a completely different objective that's going to be efficient or tax oriented on the bank rec resolution. Just to clarify for you, Mike, so you don't think I'm, those are totally different. I'm not saying
I fully understand.
Get Mercedes to do bank recs.
Yeah, no, I don't think she would like that.
But so I just think, it might be a good way to get some things going without constantly checking in.
Well, I would say this, the training from Edmonds is now complete.
Yes.
Are we sure?
Well, there's going to be the go live
We're not
launch
We're never
training.
sure.
So as soon as it goes live, there's going to be up to 10 hours of additional training that can be used. That's not to say that we're going to use
Okay.
those full 10 hours, but that's not exactly.
And it does not help the way these hours have been put on the docket, so to speak. Okay? So what I would suggest is this. We know what our offer was to the residential garbage clerk, and so that time is now expired. So, you have an offer here from Trustee Lauricella. I personally think that in any way, shape, or form, the auditors, the New York State Controller's Office, is probably going to suggest that there has to be a division of, a segregation of duties in the treasurer's office, because you cannot have the one treasurer have total say and total control. So we could perhaps look at the positions and afford the position of an account clerk for 10 to 12 hours a week. And that account clerk could do some of the payroll items and the bank recs, or
Vouchers.
Vouchers, payroll. And then the board could then say, okay, do we wait for the controller's office to tell us point blank what they want us to do relative to the reconciliations? Or do we go proactive and look and say, okay, we're gonna hire somebody for X amount of dollars a week, advertise the job, and then try to get somebody to do these bank recs? I will say this, though, if we're giving the treasurer help on the payroll and the vouchers, he should be able to square up the 20 bank accounts that he hasn't balanced since he took over. He's only 2 months behind, or 3, but he should be able to balance those accounts. He's got an N number, just pick up from the N number and just balance it per the month. We should be able to learn something from this. That's what I would do. I wouldn't just give the carte blanche 5 hours to one party, 5 hours to the other one.
Yeah. Is the view of the bank reconciliation to be time limited until it's caught up, or is that to be ongoing?
Till it's caught up, but that's gonna be about probably an 8-month effort, wouldn't you say, or more at
If we're
20
hiring
hours.
somebody, that's permanent. So we need to differentiate between what we're doing that's time limited and what's permanent.
Because the bank recs could be an independent contractor.
Correct.
Or
And
we
the person
could-
could be hired as an independent.
Right, well, yeah, and we could simply be bolstering the support of the credibly lean office with no need to train, no need to
So.
create
is-
positions.
Is it possible to give control to an existing position that once we're told by the auditor that we have to have another person that we can rely on, whether it's to pay bills or count checks or signatures, is it possible to give that authority to a present person, even though it's not in their job title?
No, I don't think it's that. What will happen is, I think what I think the controller's office is going to say is you should have another person in the office that is a check against the treasurer.
That's what I'm saying. Can that position, can that person be somebody that's already designated as, say, garbage clerk?
I think it could be, but just for full clarification also, because we keep having, the auditors keep saying about the assistant treasurer position, but as Clerk Carge has repeatedly informed us, civil service and the county, correct me if I'm wrong, do not have that job position. It doesn't exist. So we're, for villages. So we're being told that we need to have it, but that there's nothing to have.
I'm just saying the check and
The
balance.
functionality, I
Right, I understand what the email said, but I'm saying the check and balance person, can that just be designated as somebody else that's in the office? Or do
I
they
don't
have
see
to
why
have
not,
a
but I
specific
don't-
title to them to be able to be designated as that person?
I'll volunteer to reach out to the auditors if nobody has any objection.
I mean,
I'm happy to do it.
Getting back on what you were saying,
kind
we're looking to try to, at this moment, assist the treasurer by increasing some available hours to our current staff. That has nothing to do with the bank reconciliations. So,
or oversight.
right, so that's a whole nother topic. So at this juncture, to get us caught up, are we looking to extend this umbrella of hours?
So how many hours do you really want to give them? It looks like here, you're gonna give them 10, but then it looks like, oh, but we're gonna give 5 to the planning department.
What do you mean by it looks like? Where?
The planning board. Is the planning board secretary going to help out doing vouchers?
Oh, no, that just, I mean, that just was I don't know why it specifically says that. No.
Wouldn't it be easier just to
They're independent.
Wouldn't it be easier just to hire somebody to do payroll in vouchers, and Andrew can do the bank recs. I mean,
Well, the problem is the payroll clerk is not supposed to do the bank vouchers. That was a big problem.
we never had a problem with that before, because everybody else, all the other people that did payroll, done vouchers also.
Well, no, I'm sorry, the bank recs. We had that problem when we had a payroll clerk and we were trying to get them to do the bank recs and they weren't doing the bank recs.
Well, how'd the treasurer do it?
She didn't do it. That's why we have.
Well, then we have a
15
new
years
one.
of them, right?
We have a new one. It's part of his job. It's part of his duties.
The bank recs are a whole nother animal. There's nobody's going to be able to do the work of the treasurer and the bank.
But I'm sure that when you guys interviewed, you mentioned this. This is not something new to him that we have.
No, it's
No,
totally
it
100%
is. We specifically
Yeah,
said
so
to him.
it seems like, it seems like we're taking his. We're not going to give him that job. We're going to give it to
We
somebody else.
specifically said, you will not, don't worry, right, Mike? You will not have these 15 years of bank recs to do.
I think
Correct.
Kevin's
No,
talking about
interview.
current bank
Forward.
recs. I think you're
Oh,
talking about
Current
current
bank
bank.
recs are,
Yeah,
that's
but he's not
not,
doing those either.
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's why we're trying to give them support. We're trying to get some support here by these extra hours.
I'd rather hire somebody to do his support than use our help, use ours, because we give it to him, we take it away, we give it to him, we take it away. I'm tired of giving it to him, I'm tired of taking it away. So I say we hire, I'm for hiring somebody to do that job.
But what I'm talking about is not the bank recs.
I understand that part.
The garbage clerk would not be doing the bank recs.
I understand, payroll.
We just can, anything to do with accounting where our person in charge is begging on a regular basis, begging us for some assistance. And we have trained, qualified, capable, able, veteran person who has assisted 3 treasurers or more already. So it's like, just do that. Some weeks, it might be no extra hours. Some weeks it might be 3 extra hours or 5, but just hear me out. But ultimately, what it won't be is us just keep going. Can I do the extra 2 hours? The treasurer needs an extra 3 hours. Oh, I don't know. Let me call. Let me text everybody. Let me waste all my time to figure out if we can spend $40.
That's why we should just hire somebody to just do that job.
Well, but we're
that's
talking apples and
unnecessary.
oranges. We're talking apples and oranges, because what we've got is we've got the bank recs that were not done for many years.
Correct.
So we hire somebody to get that off the table.
Yes.
Going forward, the treasurer should be doing the bank recs, and as you say, if we need somebody for a couple hours, we plug them in. But there's 2 separate issues. They're not the same.
Right, like during a tax
We're not even
levy,
talking about the bank
when
recs.
it's very busy, if Heather could just work a few extra hours during tax levy, I think that would be appropriate.
But where we don't have to always be like on top of it we give some level of autonomy to the people who are battle tested and proven to be doing what they're supposed to be doing. That was my opinion. And the reason why I brought in Mercedes is because, as I was saying, we're in the midst of a full court press.
Right, but it's just that it seems to me that they're separate issues. Because I agree, the treasurer should be doing the bank recs going forward, but we're not expecting him to fix everything from 2012 to 2022.
Right.
We need to help him with that. Going forward, he has to keep everything current, and then,
But to keep
for the other things that we're talking about, and you will contact the auditors and see if the residential garbage clerk can act as the person to be the second person.
Or oversight
Yeah,
for the treasurer.
for the treasurer, and then to go with what you're saying, that availability of extra hours to assist, whether it's planning or the treasurer or whoever.
the planning would be planning.
Okay, sorry.
Planning would never spill over. That was a typograph.
Then those other hours would be available, and I agree that we don't have to meet every time and agree 3
So
hours.
Adam,
And
just
one other thing.
one question
Yeah.
though. Is it okay for us to use the clerk on an as-needed basis? Is there any pushback we'll get from the union to do that?
I don't believe so. And the as needed is going to be determined internally by them, not by us. That's what I'm trying to get.
Right,
Yeah.
they say this week, we had to do this or that, we're gonna use an extra 2 hours or 3 hours. I actually have no problem with that. But I know in the past, we've always said, we're gonna allow you to do this for 3 months and we vote on it, or is that something that is necessary, or is that by the union? Do we know that or not?
It probably could be.
Is giving sunset times necessary? by the union?
Is telling them that they have the ability to work more than 30, or we setting something by telling them they have the ability to work more than 35 hours a week. So in other words, can the union come back and say, we want that in writing, we want you to
Well, you'll have a
specify-"
resolution. We would be voting right now. It'd be in the minutes.
Is it for a lifetime?
I mean, we're just giving the authority to the.
I'm just, you know how, you
Treasurer,
know
right?
how they get.
So the next board can overturn that, or this board can overturn that at a
Yeah,
later date.
whenever we
can
want, right?
vote on it now, and then we can change our minds if we.
We say for the
So
next fiscal
choose.
year or something.
Well, our
Well, we
intentions
could
are
do
not
that.
to remove it if it's not.
Yeah, that's
abused.
my point.
So
I
unless
don't
it's
want to
being
get
abused,
into.
our intentions wouldn't be to remove it unless another board
Yes.
did not like what we're doing. We're
Unless
just
this
allowing
board or another board.
the opportunity for somebody like Andrew to say, I need this help. Do you have the availability to help me?
That was my goal.
And we can do this with no union involvement.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can, trustee Disnick, so, I think that what needs to happen is, again, council.
Can I just chime in on one? I have one thing.
Go ahead.
So what we're saying is that somebody running an office, like our office, nobody can give any authority without board approval for somebody to work an hour overtime. If Andrew needs to be caught up, or let's say John, our office manager, clerk, we need to be caught up on something. It needs to be done. It's a deadline. We can't say, work this extra hour. Is that what we're saying without board approval?
I mean, I just had to do.
Or union involvement?
We just had to do it to get that, what's that thing called? To have the special program to the county. Where I just had to
I
come ask
understand what
for
you're
4
saying.
hours.
There's- but
Oh,
there-
Ram.
RAM, yeah.
But there's just a difference between and I'm, just so you know, I'm for what you're saying.
No, I-
I just want to be cautious because there's a difference between saying we're going to use it on an emergency basis and this is our standard and we want to use it.
Well, we had a
regular
standard
basis.
in the building department, and then we took it away, and we didn't involve the.
I just want to make sure that we're not going to have any issues.
No, I get it, but what do you think of that? What is like that informs me that
No,
we
there was
had.
an illegal standard in the building department.
Oh, okay.
That position has always been 35 hours.
Okay.
And then it got to 40, and
Okay.
then it got out of control.
So when it got to 40, did we have any union issue? Is my question.
No,
Okay.
That's just what we're guaranteeing them for an hour, for hourly, right?
In charge of the union.
So just like Pete needs a highway guy to come in because a tree fell down, he doesn't get board approval to give them the overtime. We're just saying as a board, we're allowing either the department head or the treasurer to have the authority to say, we're backed up, can you do 3 hours this week?
Or the clerk itself is like, oh my gosh, I got all this work to do, I got to do it.
It should be that way with all of our employees in the
I
office.
do that. If they come to me, Heather or Brenda, we gotta do this. Someone was sick, somebody was out, we got a deadline to meet. I say, how long what do you need? I need at least 2 hours. I say, good.
So we're
But I
reinforcing
just,
the authority for
just
the BLG.
do away with
I'm a
that.
manager.
Right.
That's how you manage, right?
So say, so
I'm not gonna go to the board of 7 and say, can Heather work 2 hours
well, we're
tonight?
telling you she could work 5.
Right.
If she needs it, she can work it. You just say, as long as they're not
So-
abusing it, we're
So
good.
if it's gonna be more than 5, then you get
Right.
out.
And the goal is to help the treasurer. And in the other case, I mean, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Scribbly, we're ramping it up, right? We're ramping up in the building department, or not? Are we ramping up?
What does ramping up mean?
Well, are we putting in? Are we honing in? Are we getting ready to try to? No, with the Pez meeting.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, might that involve some
We're trying to
extra
overhaul-
clerking?
Yeah.
Some clerking?
Was that a
We are trying to overhaul some of the methodology and prosecutions, and streamline it.
Might involve some clerking, right?
Yes.
So the other thing to speak to, you know, the increase in busyness of the building department was that at some point in time, I'm going to revisit with the board, just so that everybody knows, a possible consultation with Gary Beck from Z3 Consulting on some issues, but we haven't really made that determination yet of, you know, what would be most effective at this time. So that is going to happen, Adam, yes.
And then I also have on the agenda when we get to it, an idea about shared services with, that we'll get to, and that might also require more clerking. My verb of the day.
Basically, are we allowing the department heads to grant these hours as needed in the departments for building and planning?
Or the people, not even the department heads, just the people themselves.
Right, well, somebody's really got to be accountable, but yes, that's the grand scheme of things. We're not changing any scope other than saying we're allowing them to work if they need to work. Not that your hours are now 4 hours more every week.
And to be clear, I haven't actually even spoken to either one of these individuals, so they might look at me and say, I'm not interested.
We're giving them an overtime opportunity.
One did come to me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's fine.
I'd like to enjoy my pool, I'd like to have some time off. Yeah.
Okay, well then, giving the opportunity, and if the opportunity's taken, it's great. If not, so one of the people might not even be interested.
Look, with all due respect,
Yeah. I don't deserve respect.
the planning department, and I'm gonna single out the planning department. Okay? Because when a supervisor is gonna take vacation,
I'm not trying to go there.
just hear me out.
Don't do it, trust me.
When a supervisor is going to go on vacation, he doesn't tell the subordinate that he's going on vacation.
But we clarify, that's an old issue. We've clarified.
He should be, well, it should be the next higher level of,
We established that at a previous.
it hasn't happened yet. Okay? And so when I come in the morning and I see the door closed and the lights out, I'm expecting, okay, maybe the person called the personnel chair, or the planning liaison, or the zoning liaison. And that's not the case. So, while we always want our department heads to do the right thing, and by and large they generally do, no one likes to be managed, and I don't want to micromanage department heads. But sometimes you have to put the rules down on paper. And so maybe,
Have the liaison go to the department head and say, hey, when you take a vacation day, can you please call the mayor, send him an email?
Yeah.
call the clerk, he's the
Call the
driver.
clerk.
I'll touch base about that. I'll touch base. I don't have a problem. Got a great relationship with everybody. Come on, you know that.
Alright.
I'm sorry, I don't know what to say. I didn't think this was gonna be.
Where are we on the agenda?
So, the bank, do we want someone for the bank
We
reconciliation?
need somebody. Yeah.
Part-time, 20 hours, bank reconciliations only to be supervised
So we want to put
by
an ad in the
by the
paper?
treasurer. That's what I'm asking.
Okay, so, let's.
I'll make that motion.
Frame motion.
Oh, you'll make my motion. Sure. Or you. Oh no, I don't. You keep asking for people to make the motion.
I will second.
I'll
Adam's
second
motion.
it. I don't give
Now,
a.
this is gonna be a 1099, right?
Correct.
Okay, so there's a motion and a second.
Who made the motion?
Adam,
Or Mike.
it's all good, bro. Good job.
To hire someone, put an ad in the paper for the purposes of hiring someone to do bank reconciliations.
Okay.
Is there a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Mayor votes
Are
aye.
we gonna ask for any kind of like,
I oppose.
what are we gonna ask, what are we gonna put in there? Like, what are we gonna ask for your background and skill set to do these bank recs?
I'm gonna sit down with the guy that has the expertise and write it with him.
Exactly.
You're gonna get everything.
Who's that guy?
I'm just making sure that we're not just putting a broad thing
No,
out.
we're gonna come back with the ad, right?
And it is time limited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the ad won't
I wanna
get.
sit down with Andrew.
Before we see it again.
No.
I wanna sit down with Andrew and figure out what the words are, what the qualifications probably he thinks should be, because it's not a county job, I can't go
Right,
there.
right, okay.
And then we'll develop it, and you need a salary rate.
Yeah. And you come back to it and we'll.
We'll come back.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure that's what was happening. I just wanted to know the process.
This is
of
the
it, that's
approval
all.
to start.
Well, we got approval to put an ad in the paper, but we really
Well, we're
haven't
really not
developed
doing
it.
that, right?
We haven't
That's what
developed
I'm talking about. We're not putting the ad in yet. We're developing
This
the
guy.
ad.
it.
Okay.
Developed it. We'll
Yes.
pass it out. I mean, you gotta approve the dollar.
No, I'm with you. I just want to make sure we weren't just putting it out in the
Can't
paper.
get
that's
any
all.
by him.
Sorry.
Okay, he's the goalie.
So is
Just,
it,
the record reflects that trustee Huber opposed the motion.
is it, on a dissenting minority opinion, is there you got a reason why you oppose that, Kevin?
I gotta give you a reason why I oppose.
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Because I think it's the treasurer's job to do the bank recs.
Okay.
Bank records.
The back ones too. You took the job, you should know the job.
Okay.
He was, for the record, he was specifically told, for the record, by the personnel committee, he would not have those as part of his job.
And
Also have
those
like 10
bank
years go
recs
by,
were the
to be honest.
previous treasurer's job, just so, you know.
Well, you got somebody
They
doing the other
should've
half of
been
his job, payroll. So now we're back to ice cream social
Okay.
where we used to have.
No, so
done.
Yeah?
No crossword puzzles are being done.
he just believes that I understand his.
I
He understands the treasurer should be able to do the bank recs.
Right, I just believe that we're, 10 years behind is ridiculous, that
Okay.
it was never founded by anybody, so we can't pin it on a man that just walked in the door,
Okay.
so that's what we're
So so what's the bottom line on this discussion, extra hours for a residential garbage clerk and secretary to the planning board?
Well, they said scratch the planning board.
We did? Who said scratch the
Did you
plan?
say that?
You did.
I did?
You said this, you said planning board in that era was a mistake.
Well, no.
That's not what he said.
What I said was it's suggesting that planning board was to assist peak workload treasurer is a mistake.
Oh, okay. Okay.
She's not gonna be coming in and doing bank recs or treasury stuff.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah, sorry.
So that's two separate issues then. Right?
Well, I mean, it's a package thing, I thought.
One is for more hours for residential garbage
Okay.
clerk, another one's to help the treasurer. The other one is more hours for the secretary of the planning board to assist, to do
And we
their
can take
work,
these away
additional
anytime.
hours when they had peak. work.
You can always take them away at any time. I do think it's bad form to keep. It feels weird for
Sometimes just
somebody.
to give approval,
Only
if they ever need them, to say like, we gotta get this done, and they can do it without having to wait to come to the board to say, we're approving you 2 hours. If you need it, and it's valid,
So who are they, if the treasurer needs 2 hours or 5 hours a week from
I would
somebody,
say the treasurer would tell the clerk what he's looking for, and everybody just goes about their business and gets it done.
all right.
That's where, and then if Brian needs stuff done, or, it's available to them if they need it. That's how I see it.
All I'm gonna say is, I think when these things happen, when someone goes to John Carge and says, Mr. Carge, I don't have enough time in the day, and he approves an hour here, and he approves an hour there, and that's great. And I think the whole concept of what we're talking about is a good thing. I'm gonna say one more time, my only concern is when those things happen, and they get the extra time, but now that we're sitting here and we're structuring something and we're talking about it and we're making a plan about it, that's when they have these contracts that they have 35 hours a week. That's when the union starts to get involved and says, well, if you're changing things, we want to know about it, we want to be involved in it, and we want to make
Is
plans
that a
about it.
minimum or a maximum?
But they're not being mandated.
But that's a minimum, right?
No, that's
No, that's
not.
their hours.
That's their hours.
Yeah, that's their hours. It's their required hours. These would not be required hours. That was what I was.
I'm just saying,
But I hear you, and if we don't want to move forward on this right
It's
now,
not that
that's
I
fine.
don't want to move forward with
Well,
it.
whatever.
I just don't
mean
want a
it like that.
grievance over it,
Yeah.
that
So
we're
if it's-
changing the structure of
I
their
get you.
contract
I
without their
respect
permission.
that completely,
That's
and I
what I-
appreciate the insight. And what I'm saying is, if it's premature, that's fine. This is a workshop, brought it up for discussion. If it needs more
That's-
discussion.
I'm agreeing to the concept of it.
ultimate goal-
I just, that's sitting in the back of my head worrying me
How
for
can
some
we find
reason.
that out?
My ultimate goal was to support the treasurer.
And I totally agree with the concept of it. That's just sitting in the back
I
of
get
my
you.
mind.
So we'll take our time. I want to take it easy. I want to take it slow.
They want to roll weights.
No, you don't.
I do. On this one, I don't want, because I don't want any bite backs.
Should have an MOA.
They might require that.
We'll do some more research.
Yeah, we'll look at it.
We'll talk into it. But I appreciate the discussion.
All right.
Appreciate everyone's willingness to
They
discuss.
can have a bad day and wanna fight it.
I know one thing, what I would do, and I'll just tell you this from what I've seen.
Hire somebody.
No, if we were
You
to,
said we had no money the other day.
if we were to add some hours to at least the residential garbage clerk, I would have asked her if she would be willing. Let's just say we gave her 3 hours a week extra until things clear with the treasurer. If she would be willing to come in early, an hour and a half for the 2 days, say, for the 3 hours, the amount of calls that both of those girls up there handle, it's really amazing. And by the way, the clerk that he takes, it's amazing.
I agree.
It's really hard to get a lot of stuff done, especially when you're in the middle of doing something. So if they were to start, if she was to start an hour and a half before 8:30 at 7 o'clock on the 2 days, that's, assuming it's 3 hours, you know, you'd get much more accomplished with no interruptions. But that's just a thought to consider.
All right,
We beat that to death.
all right.
Motion to adjourn?
We already talked about Edmund's payroll, that's finished, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The
We're
next
at
one
Zion
is
Church, right?
village parking lot rules and regulations.
Oh, we did that one.
We talked about Franny Reese Park as being a model, and then I heard that we don't want to just do that one, we want to do them all.
Do them all.
Well, to do them all would probably take a year, but to do
What, to
one,
Make a sign like Freddie Reese?
well, if you want, they're all different. They're all different.
I would allow just X amount of spots.
It's a matter of enforcement too, because you got,
There is, yeah, that's a real problem.
enforcement is your
These
biggest.
lots are very different.
I
Like the Mill
thought,
Street lot and the Franny Reese lot have,
We're 1 square mile.
I thought that if you took Franny Reese Park and made it a model, because it's the most complex, right? It's there for people who don't have parking.
So-
Their landlords do not provide parking for their tenants.
So does Mill Street.
We do. We provide it.
Mill Street's the same way.
15.
What does the people who are bringing this up have to say?
So,
I say you do one parking lot, you do them all. We all should.
You've been working on this?
yeah, so, I mean,
All right, legislative
one of the
committee has to
reasons.
come up with a
Well,
plan.
Mike, if you want to start?
oh, I don't even know where to start on this.
All right.
I mean, we've talked to Charlie Ferry about ways to enforce. We've come up with some ideas. Our police commissioner had mentioned that how it could be done is if we're giving out parking permits at Franny Reese Park that require, people with a permit to move, that they have to move their car at 8 a.m. And then after a certain time at night, they're allowed to park in their spot. And during the day, that spot should remain open, let's say from like 8:01 a.m. to 9 p.m. so that businesses can have their their patrons park in those spots, right?
Correct.
Now, here's the problem is enforcement. So Charlie said it would probably be doable, and I give that a probably to Charlie, which I thank Charlie for the police commissioner, for his desire to work with us on this. He said he could give a tour at night to, go to the Franny Reese lot and, check and write tickets as necessary. One other thing that we talked about was potentially booting, but that doesn't seem like that's a very good option. We kind of ruled that out for reasons I won't go into for time factors. Or towing, which seems very heavy-handed to, village residents or possible patrons of those stores on West Main. So we're basically left with this enforcement issue of, if cars get ticketed and people with permits have cars and they can't park in their spot because there's a car there that's ticketed, where do they go, So, without towing that actual vehicle, you can't free up that spot. Do you understand? So does this board think that we should tow vehicles? Does this board think we should ticket vehicles? Does this board think that we should have regulations from 8 a.m. to, let's say, 8 p.m. or 8 a.m. to 9 p.m.?
I would say from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m.
I gotta write this, Kevin, I'm sorry.
The reason why I say 7 p.m. is because if you have a permit and you have to be up the street at midnight, I would say 7. I mean, who wants to leave their house at 9 o'clock when they're half asleep to go move their car to a parking lot and come back inside and be wide awake again, right? I mean, I would say to 7 p.m.
Okay, so parking for business patrons from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Correct.
Okay, and then permit holders from 7:01 to 7:01 p.m. to 7:59.
Yeah.
And if you give the permit holders something to affix to their car, then if their spot is taken, as long as they have the sticker, they're good.
Craig is wincing over here.
No, I'm sorry.
Attorney Wallace, did you have something to add?
I apologize.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I get that big sigh out of you.
I know something that's usually very effective is if you have a sign in there that tells you if you're illegally parked, your car will be towed, and you give the name and the number of the tow truck company that's going to tow your car. That type of sign usually stands out pretty well
I agree.
and will deter somebody from parking there as opposed to just an hourly sign. You put the little tow truck symbol on it, and you give the
Tow company
name,
name,
and when you're looking for your car that you parked illegally, you're gonna call this number. That
I think we should, they should be ticketed, and then if that car's still there that next day, they should be towed. I mean, that's just really how it's, if there's a ticket sitting on your window and you're into the next time period of being parked there.
So if your car hasn't moved for a 24-hour cycle and you
Right,
have
if it's
two
able to be
tickets, you-
ticketed twice, it should be towed.
Okay, so two tickets or
Does anybody have any?
I just think if the goal is to have it moved so that it can be used for the businesses, and we're about to have 2 new businesses right across,
Yeah. I mean, there's no-
they should just be towed. Because, I used to go to a place in Poughkeepsie for my insurance, and there was a sign there, and you knew if you weren't going there to do business with Bob Jankovic's Insurance, you were parked there, that sucker was going to be towed, and it was.
I'm just saying that.
Yeah, I worked down the street from there. Just so everybody is aware, currently we have no booting laws, and it would be illegal to boot in a municipal lot like that. It would have to be a private lot. But one thing that was mentioned were that there may be, and there is, but there may be certain individuals in the village with multiple tickets, parking tickets, and the police commissioner did mention for those instances that this board consider a boot law as well, that we would possibly, kind of like work into this parking law too.
Sounds good to me.
Craig, I have a question
For
for you.
legislation purposes.
So if, in where Adam stands, that the vehicle should be towed, immediately if it's in the wrong there, do you think from a legal standpoint it'd be better to have a documented ticket before you tow a vehicle, or just tow it and go to court and have them say, like, how are you proving that I was there for outside of my scope.
We've had,
2-hour parking, or what do we?
yeah, so I think toward trustee Ruffin's point, the towing or the immobilization was really reserved for habitual offenders that have racked up, over 5 tickets or something like that,
Right.
where, you now immobilize them and they want the device taken off. They're gonna have to pay for those tickets. If they haven't answered them in court, or there's no pending trials or something like that. But yes, there's, that would be a last, resort.
But
City of Poughkeepsie had something like that.
Yeah, I'm okay with the signage going up. I just think,
But I think his question was a little, how do we, if we tow somebody's car, how do we prove that they were there more than 24 hours?
By 2 tickets being issued.
So we issue those tickets at 9 o'clock on Saturday, 9 o'clock on Sunday, 24 hours, you're gone.
There's I don't know.
Will that
Do you
cover?
have to
Enforcement
prove that it's
officers
been
can
there
chalk
for
it.
more than 24? I thought it was just between certain times. Do you have
Yeah.
to prove that it's been there for?
No, it's just the time.
Okay.
well, how do you know it's been?
So you had a permit, and you can't park.
You're saying tow the permitted people.
Yeah. Right?
Well,
If you have a
that
permit-
is a question of those permitted people.
You're supposed to be
Right,
out.
that's,
to be
I'm
moving,
talking
yeah.
about the other spots when they're not supposed to be there.
May I
Right,
suggest
you know, like
something?
randoms.
Yeah.
This is where things
That
get
we can
sticky.
understand,
Yeah.
that we can understand because it's-
Tickets, yeah.
the scope of them is written clearly, right, so, okay.
Yeah, I am the one who issues permits. And I was told several years ago that only I could do it. And I had to verify that those folks that came in to apply for a permit did in fact not have parking.
I think even the people in the permitted spot should be violated first with a ticket before they're towed. I mean, you could be, you could have fell down your flight of stairs, your kid could be whatever, there's, at least if you get ticketed, every minor thing that happens in your life is not gonna cause your car to get towed. So, I think you need the ticket, but.
Well, I'm gonna continue to not issue permits to people unless they show me, they have to verify that they do not have parking. And most of them are on West Main Street apartments. A couple from Mill Street. But the majority are from Franny Reese Park.
Those permits are revocable. So if
Take them and then revoke.
you can actually legislate them that way.
You could, yeah.
And if you do so, then that is another enforcement mechanism and deterrent.
Is there any more on this regulations and?
Okay, so we'll frame what we have so far and then present it at the next meeting, and Craig and I will also take some time and to clean this up a little bit.
Okay,
All right?
yep.
Thank you.
The next one is Zion Church parking. I am on the board of directors at the Zion Church, and we had our meeting last night, and I brought this up, and they said a couple things. There was an administration here before this group that wanted to come in and alter Satterley, cut down trees, make angle parking and all of that. And the Archdiocese said, no, you cannot change any of the boundaries, and that was the end of that. Last night I said, well, we're not proposing to alter anything. We would like to enter in a partnership with you, not unlike what we have with the Presbyterian Church, very similar.
Correct.
And they said, well, that sounds good, but that's fine. We would entertain it if you were telling us you're going to pave it. I said, I don't know, I can't say that here tonight, but I will carry that message back to the board tonight.
They want us to pave the parking lot
Correct.
and stripe it, I imagine.
And plow it.
And what?
Plow it.
And plow it too.
That's what we do.
What if we?
That's what we do here.
What if we did this? What if we agreed to just get an initial opportunity in which we plow it and utilize it for a year, see if we can perhaps get some kind of, get our feet underneath us and figure out, because I mean, the paving is not gonna be an option right now. We can't pave the streets we have. That's unfortunate.
Well, I said that, and they said, okay, if you can't do that now, come back to us when you can. They already have a plow contractor that does their sidewalks and does other
The
things.
thing is,
besides
it would just greatly benefit the community to have access to it. It would almost be they would almost be able to look at it for them as a charitable thing, because we'd be using it, or perhaps we could figure out a way for donation. I had said to you, perhaps we could talk to the local businesses and say, would you be willing to make a donation in exchange?
Yeah, we didn't spend a whole lot of time on it after one of them said, look, it sounds good, but we want you to pave it.
Okay. Yeah, that's a bummer. All right, so that's not going to happen.
By the way, we did, as Clerk Cars just said, we tried to do this under the prior administration, and we ran into a roadblock because a lot of anytime you have a not-for-profit or a religious organization that is either trying to sell or lease land, they have to actually get Attorney General approval. And they also have to get the approval of their elders, which is, the state, whatever this, it's a complicated process. And same thing with the village as well. So that's why licenses are preferred to be, used. It's a way to kind of like skirt that, but they're revocable.
Yeah.
So, obviously paving something and getting the rug thrown, pushed out of from under your feet is not something that was very palatable to that prior administration. So, there were that particular license, one did not fly at that point in time. So, just pointing that out.
Okay.
Well, what would happen in the event that I could get through private means it paved? From
You want to go in front of the vestry and?
No, I will like to do that, but I want to just ask Craig.
There's like 7 of us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions that.
No. But I'm asking Craig though, if I were to be able to get that paved, and then have the agreement. Could you have an agreement that had a extended, like I say, I'm like, okay, cool, we got this paved, and we would like a guaranteed use of this for 5 years in exchange for that paving. Would that be something that could be the kind of partnership you were talking about?
I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but I'll look at it.
Okay,
It might be 4 years and 364 days.
Right. Well, I understand.
But anything's possible. I mean, the village could not, I guess, put its name to this particular payment because it requires obviously taxpayer funds.
Well, no, but I'm saying if I could privately.
I understand.
Then the problem. Well, then maybe the plowing's not an issue. They said they want to pave. They didn't mention plowing, right? You just said.
Yeah. So the terms really should be worked out between
Well, I get that, but before the make or break component is paving. So I just wanted to know, would I be wasting my time to explore private independent money paving something, and then in the end being able to come in and utilize it for a certain period of time to make it worth the pavement investment? Because like to your point, you're not going to do it for a year, but it might be worth it if you do it for 5 years.
I'll get back to the board on that.
Cool, thanks.
Okay, We have touched on this a little bit, discussion, shared services with the village building department and the town of Wappinger.
Before you start, trustee Lorisella, I have a student of the month tomorrow with the Rotary, and Supervisor Thurston has the same meeting because we give the students awards, and we were gonna have another meeting of the minds because I approached him relative to an intermunicipal agreement for emergency use of not only for the building department, but also for the highway department, and also for whatever, if we had an emergency. Okay, so that they would be willing to help us out. So, and he is very receptive to that. So, once we have this next meeting, then we will have Craig and myself and Dick Thurston and whoever else he's got to bring in on this, and then just put paper.
For the emergencies.
Put paper to pen and whatever.
Great.
So, whatever you have.
So I did also speak with with Supervisor Thurston, and we spoke quite a bit about a number of things, and one of them I brought up after a conversation I had with Attorney Wallace is the idea of having an intermunicipal agreement to have shared services for building and zoning to support us, to get Brian some of the support he needs with an avenue that doesn't quite require the same things we would if it were simply our own part-time person or full-time person. He was very open to that. In fact, thought there could be great benefits for both the village of Wappingers and the town of Wappinger. And what he asked is, at this point, I could meet with him and some other people who would like to form some form of exploratory committee to talk about what it would mean for us, what it would be. He did request that, he did say, it'd be nice to have the meeting without the attorneys. Personally, I feel like Craig has become such an integral part of our team, specifically with planning and zoning, that I wouldn't want to have that initial exploratory meeting without him. Not for legal purposes exactly, but more for the mechanics of things, because we're all kind of working together. I don't know how Craig feels about that, but
I appreciate that.
But seems kind of unfair, excuse me,
sure.
because he's an attorney.
well, I did say that. I said, what are you gonna do about yourself?
Yeah.
But we did chuckle about that. He did say he doesn't wear that hat when he's there as a supervisor.
Okay.
Yeah, without knowing the context of your conversation with him, because I wasn't there, he might be alluding to the fact that our office, namely Jim Horan, represents the town of Wappinger, whereas I represent the village, and we're in the same, law firm. So that could be, possible conflict that he was alluding to.
Yeah.
So there's, that aspect, and that would have to be divulged to his board as well, and they're fully aware of it. This would be an IMA for a hire that would benefit both parties, but it would be a shared services, and if there was ever a dispute or something during the negotiation, it could get, that's the only time I could see a real conflict, but if he wants to avoid that, I respect that. I respect that, but that's up to you, to you guys if you want to hire another attorney to represent the village for that aspect. Those are things that you guys can talk about internally.
I don't get involved in all that. Okay, we just want to get this initial meeting going. We're not
Totally
trying to
understand.
hire new attorneys right now.
I agree.
Maybe next month, but No, I'm kidding. So my question is, could I have, like, would the board be open to meeting again to discuss this? And who, I mean, I would assume Mike would be joining, but is there anyone else who, besides Mike and I, that would like to be a part of it? Pat, I don't know if you're interested, or everyone,
Yeah, I'm
anyone?
interested, just, I don't know.
Would appreciate the opportunity, yes. Would appreciate the opportunity. Coincidentally, I also reached out to Barbara Roberti. The
She would
building
be at the
inspector.
meeting.
Yes, and I was, we talked about it, and she said that she would be okay with an intermunicipal agreement as long as Dick Thurston did agree to it as well. So, and she also told me they're 3 weeks behind on permits, but that was like a week and a half ago, so I wonder if they caught up. But yes, very much like to be there. Anybody else?
Mayor, would you like to be there?
Well, I'm talking tomorrow about what I talked to him about, so.
I know, but do you want to come to this other, like, way cool thing that we're gonna do?
Set it up.
All right. Anyone else?
Tell me when it's
Jen?
there.
No.
You got three here already.
All right.
Yeah.
Kevin, no.
There's,
Billy, no.
You can only have 3.
Oh, we can only have 3. Well, I'll wear a fake mustache. Nobody will know it's me.
Shave it off.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all. That concludes the meeting.
No. All right, the last printed item on the agenda is approval to extend the landscaping contract to include Big Dan's Monument area, Mary Ross Park, Mill Street Lot, and Canally Park Ground. I was asked to contact our contractor, Greenscapes, and spoke with Jim Baisley Jr., and he says it's already in your contract, time and material. There won't be any material, but the time is $65 an hour. To do these 4 additional areas, probably be less than $200.
I'll make the motion.
Second the motion.
Can we put a amount on it? Because $60 an hour goes quickly.
He just said less than $200.
So are we gonna state that?
We have to-
Can't we just say to add them in, because we're adding these into a contract that already has a dollar amount. Can't we just add $200 to the contract?
Or you can, I would frame it as a cap of.
Up to $200.
He said, John, this isn't gonna take hardly any time at all. They're all together.
They're all together except the
I would
canal.
just feel more comfortable if we capped it at a certain, if he says 200, let's just say that get rid of the $60 an hour and just say $200, add it to the contract.
This is a business. We can't.
The contract
we can't
says
disrespect people like that.
The
What do you mean
contract says
disrespect? How is that disrespecting? He said it's $200.
Not more than.
So it's a monthly payment that we pay for them to do the contract. It's a monthly payment. So if you're gonna add these things in there, and he said, does anybody listen or are you having your own conversation?
I'm listening.
Okay, so, no, you're saying I'm being disrespectful, but.
No, I didn't say you're being disrespectful. I said I wasn't being accusatory.
This
And I
is,
apologize if that's
he has
what
a contract where we pay him a certain amount of money every month for that contract.
Right.
And in that contract, he goes to certain locations.
Yeah.
We're adding more locations.
Yeah.
So tell us how much more you want in your contract to add these locations to your contract. He's saying 200, it's gonna be approximately $200. So why don't we just extend the contract by $200 and add these places?
Right.
Why do we have to have separate things that are by the hour? Just add it all together in the contract.
Right, my only thought was the approximate, taking someone saying approximate and then forcing it to be a
Well,
finite.
Then just tell him to give us a number then.
Yeah, regardless.
Then
He
just
can't,
tell us to
he
give us a
can't,
number.
he would have to do it to give
Do it,
you an
yeah.
accurate
That's fine.
number.
There
Let
has
him
to
do
be
it and then give us a number.
amendment any-
I'll make a motion.
In writing.
Isn't he our time and material
Yes.
loan contractor?
That's the point.
We're just trying to approve this on time and
Yeah.
material.
Yeah, it's
That's the
not-
point.
Second the motion.
It's
So I
fine.
called him and I said to him, I gave him the
He
4.
did, Mike seconded.
Mike seconded it.
So one more question.
Yeah,
It's,
did-
the way it's worded here is to extend the contract. So are we gonna have 2 parts to the contract then? Certain things on time and material and the other things just the monthly payment?
Okay, change the word extend to utilize the existing contract.
Right, at time and material.
To
So
you-
we're gonna have these items at time and material, and the rest of it, just the monthly contract.
He did time and material when he put mulch over in Mizzier Park.
But John, I read this as if we're changing the contract.
We're not changing the contract.
Okay, but that's what it says.
Approval to utilize the existing contract,
Can I just sum this up though? I'm sorry.
okay? Is that all right?
And I just want to make one statement. I'll let you have the last word. Look, we're talking 6 months at the tops. Okay? We're talking 6 months at the tops in this, at maybe $1,200.
This takes away from the water department, that at least we know these parks are getting done.
Actually-
And Bruner's, the grass was high, Mill Street parking lot, the Mary Ross parking lot, Canali Playground up there. I mean, these guys are busy during the day, and then they gotta find time to mow lawns 10 hours a week.
I'm not disputing that it needs to be done. I'm just saying how it's put together. If we're gonna extend his contract that he does every single year, we're adding new items to this contract, why can't he just, maybe he does it once or twice, gives us a solid number, and just adds everything, and now there's just one big contract for all of it?
All right, we can ask to do that.
That's all I'm
I
saying.
think we do time and material this year, we renegotiate our contract next year.
I agree.
All right.
Go out to bid.
May I just make one
Let,
comment?
let Attorney Wallace have the last word on this.
Clerk Karsh actually provided me with the original contract earlier today, okay, which actually goes through 2024 season. There's a contract in there. It only covers Veterans Park, Temple Park, Bain Park, Mizzier Homestead Park, MIA Park, Village Hall, Police Station, Fisherman's Park on List Road Park,
That's taken away right now.
and Eugene Darrigan Park as specified for 2020 through 2024 seasons. So what, out of those parks I just recited, what is being added so that I can do an amendment?
What is being added is
Doesn't have a time and
Big
material.
Dan's Monument,
Big Dan's Monument Area,
Mary Ross Park.
Mary Ross Park, Mill Street Lot, and Canali Playground.
So none of those are on this.
Where's Eugene Darrigan?
There's a proposal for ground maintenance. I
No,
didn't see
Eugene Darrigan.
time and material, but what I can do is, can't we just reach out to them and ask them to just do an amendment to the present contract?
Yeah.
I think that's all that needs to be done. The extra work requested has to be in writing, was $65 per hour per man, and extra work must be requested and authorized by John Karsh. Really should be this village board is the only board that can enter in. All right, so
So if they want mulch somewhere, or you want a tree trim, or you want some extra work done, we're gonna amend the contract every
That's not-
time, and we're gonna ask the board for approval.
I'm assuming that you're saying right now that these are things that you want done on a yearly, all the time basis. That's how I read this. Am I wrong to read it that way?
I was asked to see how much he would charge to do those 4 areas.
On a continuous
I don't know, once,
yearly basis.
twice, 10 times, I don't know.
John,
Once a week.
we all know I'm not talking about the week. Going forward, we don't want to have our water guys or whoever's currently doing this do this work.
Okay,
So we want to add it permanently to their
Well, that's not-
responsibility.
That's not what I was asked, but if that's what you want to do, I'll.
That's what I'm trying to find
Well,
out.
I don't know, I didn't come up with the idea. I
Is
didn't,
this a part, who?
I was asked to make a phone call, that's all.
I came up with the idea.
So it's permanently forever and ever and ever?
Yeah, ever.
Okay, so
Yeah.
put it in the contract with everything else.
All right, put it in the contract. I make a motion, tell John, or Jimmy to put it in the contract.
I'll second that motion.
Okay,
Add
all in
those
favor?
Marks,
Aye.
that motion to give us, we're estimating it to be $200. If he finds out it's more, he comes back to us.
Might be 1,000 now, but.
Yeah,
So, you made the motion?
I made the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. On a vote.
Aye.
All in
Aye.
favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Mayor
All right.
votes aye.
So, I'm gonna call him tomorrow and ask him to put an amendment to the contract to include those 4 areas. right?
Yes, perfect.
Yes,
Great.
I have one question. Where is Eugene Darrigan Park?
down near the boathouse. Just
That's not, that doesn't take boats.
That's just past the
Or
parking
occupants.
lot. You'll see a little plaque and
Okay,
over there.
learn something new every day.
No, it's a, someone who died in World War II.
Snow too, up at MIA Park. That should be in there. Maybe we'll amend a contract for that, town snow.
Yeah.
I want to do a approval anytime
The state
you
is
come in or out of the
in
office.
that
I
area.
want to have a special one. Anytime.
All right, that concluded the printed portion of the agenda.
Is there anything else?
Nope.
Anything from the public? No, thank you. And is there a motion to adjourn to go to executive session?
There's no executive
If there's
session.
no executive session tonight?
I thought you had a Taylor law issue.
What's that?
Is there a Taylor law issue?
There's something checked off.
Grievance?
A grievance issue?
I'm seeing
Yeah.
Yeah, what is it?
It might be in 2 weeks. Okay.
It's not.
So is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make.
Second.
That's it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.